One of the most profound movements and one of the first real social movement in American history was all about slavery, and that's labor. And it was about creating a different kind of democracy, different kind of way of thinking about the economy. And I think these battles aren't over. The African American portion of American wealth as a whole is 3% today. And the last time it was 3% was in 1868, 3 years after slavery. African Americans going back to before the Civil War, and the earliest African American spokespersons and writers and leaders like Frederick Douglass and others argued that the fundamental feature of the American economy was dehumanization. And they also argued that you can't have a democratic constitution and an economic system that degrades and exploits people. Many of the radical Republicans who fought for the Civil War and in the Civil War believed the same thing. I think the true intent of the 13th Amendment wasn't just to eliminate chattel slavery, it was to eliminate all forms of economic oppression and create what we would now call living wages for everybody. I think that was the true intent. But these things were overthrown. After the Civil War, there was a counter-revolution, Lincoln's assassination, the destruction of Reconstruction. We got segregation, which wasn't just about making white people feel superior, it was about a cheap labor force, which persisted. The 1963 March on Washington, where everyone sees Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. Well, King wasn't head of that march. A. Philip Randolph was, the first black trade union president. The demand of the march was for jobs and freedom. Jobs came even before freedom. That sort of dream of a new kind of economy was tightly connected with thinking about voting rights and a new kind of politics. And when African Americans said we refuse to work as basically semi-slave laborers with no rights and no voting rights and no protections, and my generation said we're not going to do that work that our parents did, then employers started bringing undocumented immigrants into the country to work with no rights and no protections. And when the government said, well, what are we going to do with all these young folks like me who don't want to do this kind of semi-slave work? They didn't reform the economy. They said, let's lock them up. And we got mass incarceration. And so I think all of these things are related to our history. All of these things are part of the challenge of changing the system. And the system connects these things.
This is why you took a second job. While you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing. While you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
On opening body bags after Typhoon Haiyan. I can only imagine it like unearthing a scab. Zipper breaks open one by one. Mothers trying to dig through themselves an umbilical cord to lend life to a limp ghost. There is not enough relief here to hide the scent of what this child used to be. The coconut trees are not high enough to see over the inside out that was made here. Bags do not have the honor of being called burial plots. Churches ain't supposed to be mausoleums. Tacloban was morphed into ground zero. And I watch this while it snows in Madison, Wisconsin, a place where it's easier to live as a rodent than it is to be a colored person. This place drowns my people in a different way. I inhabit both places like jigsaw corpse trying to find itself whole. These brown boys in Tacloban aren't my cousins, but I want to carry them to safety. These brown girls in Tacloban aren't my daughters, but I want to tell them they're still growing after this choking, but I'm still an ocean away, a language farther from root, a skin tone lighter than the sand, born there, raised here, home nowhere. To watch this storm is a sorry excuse for mourning. It is to need the sun desperately. It is to realize that your body is in one country while your grief is in another. To look at your house walk to a river and come back to no house is to be Filipino. To look at your motherland hurting from a TV screen is to be Filipino American. To watch my islands through the blue eyes of Anderson Cooper is the most American I have ever felt. But I still cry for them. And I still pray for them because God tried to make them Atlantis before they were ready to be a myth just yet, because rebuilding is the Filipinos' most intrinsic muscle memory, but most painful trauma, because relief is just a word whose Tagalog translation I don't even know, because this poem is all I can give for my country, bleeding in salt water. Hail Mary, full of grace. The Lord keeps trying to drown us. Hallowed be thy bodies. Thy kingdom come down in waves and winds on earth as it is destroyed. Take us this day our daily rations and forgive those who have tried to kill us.
Line. This is the Bill Press Show.
Yes, it is the Bill Press Show. Hello, I am not Bill Press. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Tuesday, all day long, February 3rd, 2016. We are still basking in the post-Iowa glow from the caucuses of the Hawkeye State, the Hawkeye caucus, if you will.
I won't.
Yeah. You shouldn't, frankly. Kicking it with you all day today while Bill is out on his book tour. You know, he's got a new book out, Buyer's Remorse. You can get your copy at BillPressShow.com if you'd like to buy a signed, personalized copy that we'll send right to you. Shipping and all of that covered, tax covered. You just $27. Cheaper than you can get at the store, for crying out loud. He'll sign it however you want. So he's out there plugging that book a couple days this week, but he'll be back later on this week, and then we're going to be with you early next week, presumably from New Hampshire. We're going to be broadcasting live, so lots of Bill coming your way and lots of political analysis coming your way. But for now, it is me, Peter Ogburn. I am joined, of course, by Jamie Benson, running the board.
Good morning, Peter.
Hello, Mr. Benson.
Hello.
You good in there? You have a late night? You okay?
I got enough sleep last night.
Which is how much sleep?
I got about 6 hours.
Can we talk about your? I should have talked to you about this off the air.
You gonna put me on blast?
I'm not going. No. I think this is hilarious. Because you got a record player. And
oh yeah, we can talk about this.
Okay, all right, we'll talk about this. All right, because you got a record player. This is the thing, all right. Like I got enough vices in my life. Frankly, I just can't get into the vinyl thing, because if I did, I'd be consumed by it. But you're into the vinyl thing now.
Yeah, I got into it in high school. I had the 2 turntable battle pack. I thought I was going to be a DJ.
There you go.
Don't worry, I wasn't a cornball about it. And I brought turntables to college, and turntables got lost at the college radio station, and then I decided this year I'm finally going to get a brand new, very nice
there you go
turntable.
Nice. And this is my problem with the vinyl thing, right? Like I would spend hours and thousands of dollars hunting down like stupid vinyl, basically.
Yeah, and for the time being, I mean, I just got this brand new thing in December.
You got to stock up.
But I've had a collection.
Okay.
So I've been away from this collection for a while, having not had a record player. So I've been able to tide myself over. But as you'll explain, last night, it sort of...
You were overserved, and then you got online and you ordered.
I mean, that fact's not... I guess that's pretty important for the
No, only
it's
because I've
important.
been there, right? Yeah. Like, I've been... Like, you were overserved and you went online and bought too much vinyl.
I did. I bought about $75 worth.
Dude. I like, say what you will about like the death of the brick and mortar music store, right? But like, I never got a little liquored up and went into a Sam Goody shop and bought like $200 worth of like Morrissey deep cuts, which I have done on iTunes. Like, yeah, just get them all.
Yeah.
Just get everything. Yeah. I've done that before. So that's my problem with the vinyl thing, especially, I mean, with Amazon, you get stuff like the next day.
This is Amazon Prime.
Of course. They're probably already there.
It's coming tomorrow.
Hot take, by the way, Amazon Prime delivers things too fast.
Yeah, it's scary fast.
It's scary fast.
But
All
it's
right.
great.
But you're going to have a lot of good music, so, good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Our phone number, which you will need today, is 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. If you call that number, you will talk to Ray Rogers, who is standing by to take your calls. And if you are watching the show, which you can do on youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKR TV, or on Free Speech TV, which is on Dish Network or DirecTV, or on the Roku box. You are watching us because Cyprian Bolding is on the job, bringing you the show live and direct.
Cyprian and I have a long day together.
You guys, so Cyprian is the hardest working man in show business.
He, bar none.
Like, I can't even tell you. There are days that I'll come in here, just happened the other day, I'll come in here, Cyprian will be fast asleep, right in that studio, and he'll wake up, and I'll go, what are you doing? He goes, man, I worked until 2 a.m. last night. I was like, this guy, he never turns down work. So now he's recruited you to come on and do a little work with him this evening. So you guys are going to be working.
I've been enveloped into his crazy world.
You're going to get a lot of Cyprian
nonstop
today.
work.
You're going to have so much Cyprian in your life today. And Cyprian, you're going to have probably too much Jamie in your life today.
Yeah, it's going to be worse for him than it is for me.
Let's be
just
perfectly
to let you know,
clear about it. Yeah, it's going to be bad. The fact that he has to deal with you here and then actually have to sort of be your boss later on.
Terrible.
Oh, man.
Can you imagine my future wife?
Poor Sip. Poor
if she exists.
Hey, are you excited about the Super Bowl?
No, not really.
I'm not either. I don't really care about either of the teams. I want to play that Cam clip, the Cam freestyle, because I don't like Cam Newton, okay? But as I've said many times, I've got my reasons. It's not because he dabs or dances. It's because I went to Alabama, and I'll be forever ride or die Alabama. But Cam Newton, he this is part of the reason people don't like him, right? He's too flashy. They think he's too urban. So this is him with a freestyle yesterday.
I don't think you got swag because your shirt is yellow. It should have been Carolina blue. Something that you should have thought, something you should have knew. We're chilling in the Super Bowl with a lot of media. Man, I hate talking to the media. But it's all good, it's all great. Man, I look at the team, man, them boys straight. I'm straight out College Park by way of Atlanta. You can see the towel on my head, some people call it a bandana.
Okay. Bars aren't terrible, but you got to deduct. I mean, you got to give that a failing grade.
You got something right in the middle there with the media mention twice.
You got to give him a failing grade for rhyming media with media.
Right. As a self-proclaimed hip-hop connoisseur,
you're the guy here.
I'm going to give this, I always use the letter grade scale. I'm going to give this a solid B-.
B-?
It's a freestyle.
I got to fail him.
Off the top.
You know what I give him? I'm going to fail him because of the media thing, but I'm going to give him an F+.
Ugh.
I give him an F+.
They're mean.
Same reason like the Beastie Boys. They rhyme commercial with commercial in two of their songs. Can't do it. Yeah. Come on, you either rhyme or you don't. All right, 13 minutes past the hour. We're going to rip apart the caucus results and look ahead to New Hampshire, which is next week. All that coming up in just a moment. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
And just a couple of other stories for you on this Wednesday morning. Hey, Peter, are you a fan of CBS's programming?
In general, no.
Okay, so they have the Super Bowl, right?
Yes.
This week, and they have Stephen Colbert doing a special post-Super Bowl show, which I'm more excited about that.
I was going to say,
Super Bowl.
I'll watch that.
CBS is releasing quite a bit of news about their upcoming fall schedule. That's next year, fall schedule this week, because they have their momentum. And they've announced that a beloved 1980s television series is coming back. They are rebooting MacGyver. MacGyver
no kidding.
Is coming back to CBS. Most recently, I think MacGyver was in the headlines because it had been parodied on Saturday Night Live.
MacGruber.
Turned into a movie as well with MacGruber. But this is a serious attempt at a reboot. Henry Winkler is going to be the executive producer. He was the original executive producer.
Do we know who the star is? I didn't know that about the Fox.
We don't have a star yet, but we do know it will probably be somebody in their 20s. Of course, MacGyver is a young hero of sorts. CBS also announced they've ordered a pilot for the drama Bull, which is based on the early career of Dr. Phil McGraw. Yeah.
I ain't watching that.
No, I'm not watching that one bit. It profiles his days as head of one of the most prolific trial consulting services of all time.
That guy's a quack.
Also, CBS announcing they are rebooting Nancy Drew with a younger, diverse twist. And they will be doing a pilot of Training Day, the Denzel Washington movie. They'll be turning
Can I
that
tell you
into
something?
a TV series.
I just watched that movie for the first time last week.
No way.
For the first time.
You enjoy it?
What a great movie.
Did you watch it unedited?
It's a great movie.
It's got a lot of quotables.
It's very quotable. Yeah, it's a very good movie. You know what? Out of all those, I will watch MacGyver because I don't think Training Day is going to translate very well to the TV.
I don't know. I'm going to give Training Day a chance, but without Denzel, it's not Training Day.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, I just can't imagine it working on TV.
And we stay on the topic of CBS and the Super Bowl. The Broncos punter Britton Colquitt.
Oh, this story.
This is a bad story, and I hope the NFL fixes it.
Yeah.
He has been forced to pay $1,800 for a ticket for his 1-week-old daughter.
Yeah.
She is 1 week old. The NFL is saying no, she can't sit, or maybe it's not the NFL, but the folks there at the Levi Stadium in San Francisco saying she can't sit on her mother's lap. If she's going to be entering the stadium, she needs a ticket. Colquitt was quoted as saying it's not about the money because with the tickets, you end up kind of forfeiting your Super Bowl check. It's about the medal, I guess, and the memories and putting your name in history forever. Colquitt also said, his wife is breastfeeding and needs to be with their daughter. So if the daughter's not going to get in, the wife's not going to be able to go to the Super Bowl.
Here's the thing. The same rules should apply to the sporting event tickets that applies to airplanes, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to buy a ticket for a 1-week-old baby on an airplane. They're just going to sit on her lap. What's the child going to sit in the seat? She's just going to lay the child down in the seat. He can't even sit yet.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's one thing if it's a regular fan. This is a guy that's playing in the Super Bowl, has a notable role in the Super Bowl, and his wife wants to see
I
her
hate that
husband
whole story.
hopefully
It's crazy.
win a title. And finally, with your food news, we've actually got a lot of food news this morning. This one, I don't know if I'm going to be going after this one. Burger King rolled out on Monday a brand new burger. It is called the Extra Long Buttery Cheeseburger.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
They rolled it out nationwide on Monday. It features 2 beef patties flavored with a buttery garlic sauce, onions, iceberg lettuce, ketchup, mayonnaise, and American cheese.
What are you doing?
On a toasted hoagie bun. This is actually an answer to one of their competitors' products, Jack in the Box, which I don't think, do we have a Jack in the Box?
We don't have any
in the area.
Right
I went to one when I spent some time out in Arizona.
Jack in the Box, when I lived in Texas, you want to talk about drunk food? Whoa.
Oh, I'm sure. It's trucker food.
It's trucker food.
Yeah.
It's well put.
Jack in the Box has a sandwich called the Buttery Jack. If you do want to check this thing out at Burger King.
I don't.
Well, if you do, $3.50 as a part of their 2 for $5 value deal.
Folks, don't eat that.
Don't do that.
Buttery. You know what I find the grossest thing about that is not so much the butter, but the fact that they've got the butter and then they put ketchup and mayonnaise, like with the
just dollop it.
Yeah, just like, come on, guys.
No good.
Little condiment control.
No good.
I know you're a fan of Burger King.
Yeah.
You love junk food.
Well, yeah.
And that's fine. I'm not like making fun, but you like junk food.
I've had a resurgence of junk food as of late, and
I get it.
I think it has something to do with the fact that I've started running more, and when you work out more, you end up wanting bad foods.
Is that true?
You think you can
See, I go the
justify it.
opposite.
No, for me that's how
I go when I'm working out. I don't want to undo the garbage. I don't want to undo the good stuff.
No, for me it's just leveling it out.
Yeah, you gotta balance those scales, man. Put in 2 miles, let me get that Big Mac. Oh man. All right, so we're not far from a break. I'm just gonna set the table here because we got a lot to talk about Iowa. Jamie, we're not really gonna have time for a lot of audio. We went long there. That's my fault, but. I do want to sort of get into this general premise of where we stand with the Iowa caucuses, with the results of the Iowa caucuses. So Ted Cruz won, as we know, and Hillary Clinton barely won, which we know. And by the way, yesterday we were talking about how it was like 0.4%. It got even tighter. It was like 0.2% by the end of yesterday. But they did. AP finally called it at like 3 p.m. or something crazy. So Hillary wins. Boom. However, it was very, very, very close. And I know that Hillary supporters aren't going to like the fact that I'm saying it was a statistical tie, but it was very close to a statistical tie. Hillary Clinton was up like 50 points in Iowa before this thing started, and Bernie managed to come back and nearly win the whole dang thing. But here's my question to you. I want to focus on the Republicans for a moment. Because Ted Cruz is now the president of Iowa. That's how this works, I think. I don't follow.
Yeah, it's accurate.
That's right. So Ted Cruz is now the president of Iowa. Ted Cruz joins the likes of Bob Dole in 1988, Pat Robertson, who nearly won in 1988, Mike Huckabee in 2008, Rick Santorum in 2012, George H.W. Bush in 1980 when he did not win the nomination. So you look at 1996, Pat Buchanan came within 3 points of beating Bob Dole, a year that Bob Dole went on to become the nominee. This whole idea that as Iowa goes, so goes the nation, nah.
I think I can find a common denominator.
Go ahead.
All of those candidates spent way too much time pandering to evangelicals.
Yes, absolutely. Pat Robertson came so close to. Pat Robertson came close in 1988. Pat Buchanan came really close in 1996. Huckabee, Santorum, you're right. What's a common thread there? All evangelicals, all sort of pandering to them in Iowa. So I'm not so convinced that Ted Cruz's win over Donald Trump means all that much, to be perfectly honest. What do you think? 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377, because we're going to New Hampshire next. Donald Trump currently holds a commanding lead in all of the polls. Do you worry about the polls? Do you think that Donald Trump has a chance at a bounce back? And do you think that Ted Cruz has the momentum to actually get the nomination? 866-55-PRESS. We got a lot to talk about. We'll talk about it with you, 866-557-7377. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press. We'll be right back.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at Facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
Today, in this country, we are having a conversation about police violence, the killing of black men, and what all that means. It is sad that this is happening and that every day there's a new incident to cause us to keep thinking about it and talking about it. But it is extraordinary that the American people are having to deal with this every day, whether you're watching CNN or MSNBC, Fox, or ABC News. All the news channels are talking about police violence and what does that mean against black people. Many people probably look at that, certainly have looked at it in the past, and they have said that these poor black men are doing bad things, and that's why they are ending up in confrontations with police without any understanding of the lives of these poor black young men. Part of what has been going on for decades is that poor black people live in communities that suffer from hyper-surveillance of the police. The police are more likely to be in their communities. The police are more likely to arrest them. The police are more likely to stop them even if they're not doing anything. And that is what is so hard for the American people to believe, that you would get stopped and searched and arrested by the police and not doing anything. But this is starting to come out as people are telling the stories over and over again. But this has been the condition, this hyper-surveillance by police, making it more likely for people to get a record, to be known by the police, and then once they get in the system, it is almost impossible to get out because of the whole system of being on parole and missing an appointment or or fraternizing with a person who has a criminal record, getting you right back in the jail, and then going back again and again and again. This is coming to be seen by the American people in a way that it has never been seen before. But why are people in these communities in the first place? That's getting peeled away. People are there because of housing discrimination. They are there because this is the only place where affordable housing can be found. They are there because that's where their families live, and people are drawn to being in communities where they are comfortable. The combination keeps people in these low-income communities where they are an easy target for hyper-surveillance and then everything that comes from it. And so as we think about these issues, we have to understand that while you as an individual in this society, as a white individual, you may not carry personal racism, but that does not keep the system from operating in a racist way.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Still picking apart the Iowa caucuses and what it means to Republicans and what it means to Democrats. We are doing it with you at 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Let's go to Joe in Albuquerque, New Mexico. What's up, Joe?
Hey, good morning. Actually, I think in order to see if Cruz has momentum would depend upon the Bible Belt states.
Yeah.
I don't think New Hampshire really matters, so it'd be great if he did win New Hampshire. But I do believe it has to do with how well he does in the Bible Belt states against Trump and also against Rubio.
That's a really, really good point. And that's also going to be a test for someone like Donald Trump, right? Because, look, a lot of people in the media, present company included, thought that Trump was going to just run away with Iowa. And if he ran away with Iowa, then he's going to run away with New Hampshire, then he's going to run away with South Carolina, and that whole thing is over. But Donald Trump actually now has to really compete. And so I do really think that it's still a two-man race, especially when you look at the South. Because if Ted Cruz can compete with Donald Trump in the South, then it's a whole new ballgame. And not only does that take away from some of the power of Donald Trump, that also opens up the door for someone likable like Marco Rubio, because Ted Cruz just ain't that likable. So we'll see. We got a lot more stuff to sort of unpack here. I want to talk a little bit more about moving forward and whether or not Donald Trump can actually win. 866-55-PRESS. 866-557-7377. Peter Ogburn in for Bill Press.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Across from me at the kitchen table, my mother smiles over red wine that she drinks out of a measuring glass. She says she doesn't deprive herself, but I've learned to find nuance in every movement of her fork, in every crinkle in her brow as she offers me the uneaten pieces on her plate. I've realized she only eats dinner when I suggest it. I wonder what she does when I'm not there to do so. Maybe this is why my house feels bigger each time I return. It's proportional. As she shrinks, the space around her seems increasingly vast. She wanes while my father waxes, His stomach has grown round with wine, late nights, oysters, poetry, a new girlfriend who was overweight as a teenager, but my dad reports now she's crazy about fruit. It was the same with his parents. As my grandmother became frail and angular, her husband swelled to red, round cheeks, rotund stomach, and I wonder if my lineage is one of women shrinking, making space for the entrance of men into their lives, not knowing how to fill it back up once they leave. I have been taught accommodation. My brother never thinks before he speaks. I have been taught to filter. How can anyone have a relationship to food, he asks, laughing, as I eat the black bean soup I chose for its lack of carbs. I want to say we come from difference, Jonas. You have been taught to grow out. I have been taught to grow in. You learn from our father how to emit, how to produce, to roll each thought off your tongue with confidence. You used to lose your voice every other week from shouting so much. I learned to absorb. I took lessons from our mother in creating space around myself. I learned to read the knots in her forehead while the guys went out for oysters, and I never meant to replicate her, but spend enough time sitting across from someone and you pick up their habits. That's why women in my family have been shrinking for decades. We all learned it from each other, the way each generation taught the next how to knit, weaving silence in between the threads, which I can still feel as I walk through this ever-growing house. Skin itching, picking up all the habits my mother has unwittingly dropped, like bits of crumpled paper from her pocket on her countless trips, from bedroom to kitchen to bedroom again. Nights I hear her creep down to eat plain yogurt in the dark, a fugitive stealing calories to which she does not feel entitled. Deciding how many bites is too many, how much space she deserves to occupy. Watching the struggle, I either mimic or hate her, and I don't want to do either anymore, but the burden of this house has followed me across the country. I asked 5 questions in genetics class today, and all of them started with the word sorry. I don't know the capstone requirements. I don't know the capstone requirements for the sociology major because I spent the whole meeting deciding whether or not I could have another piece of pizza. A circular obsession I never wanted, but inheritance is accidental. Still staring at me with wine-soaked lips from across the kitchen table.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To
not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn. You can follow me on Twitter at Peter Ogburn, O-G-B-U-R-N. You can follow the show at BP Show. You can follow Jamie Benson at JBensonDC. Right?
My latest tweet, self-deprecating.
I saw that.
If you like self-deprecating tweets.
Jamie just tweeted, Peter Ogburn is hosting live now, which means you'll see more of my wretched voice, ugly mug, this AM. Jamie, by miles, the most handsome member of the staff.
Oh.
Right?
No, Cyprian, come on.
Come on.
Cyprian's a complete package.
Cyprian is a complete package. But we never get to see Seth. We never get to see Seth. So y'all tune into the show. If you need to find a way to watch, just go to youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKRR. Watch us on Free Speech TV. Okay, so I want to talk more 2016 here because I'm just so obsessed with the Republican side of things because it's a really fascinating study in media and polling and all of this. Because in 2012, Republicans were running around with their hair on fire talking about how all the polls, skewed polls, these polls are skewed. And Mitt Romney's got a better shot than all these polls indicate. Guess what? The polls were pretty much accurate, right? Like, Mitt Romney lost, and it pretty much fell along the lines that all of the reputable polls were talking about. And so most of the polls in Iowa showed that Hillary was up 3 or 4 points. Donald Trump was up 3, 4, 5 points. There's one poll that comes from the Des Moines Register that is sort of like the holy grail of polls, right? And that came out, I guess, like the Thursday before the caucuses, and showed that it was about a 3-point race, 3 or 4 point race on either side. So as it turns out, that's not exactly how it played out. Donald Trump did not win. In fact, he lost by 3 points. They predicted it'd go the other way. Ted Cruz won, and Hillary Clinton won a squeaker. So they've all gone to New Hampshire, and this is sort of where things get really interesting. I don't think Iowa means anything, right? I think we've established this pretty well when you look at who has won Iowa caucuses in the past, a.k.a. Rick Santorum, Mike Huckabee, Pat Buchanan, Pat Robertson came very close to winning. So this means not very much, to be perfectly honest with you. But now things get really interesting because we're going to go to New Hampshire next week. That's on Tuesday. The following week, this is for the Republicans. It's a little bit different for Democrats, but for Republicans, February 20th is South Carolina, right? So not quite 3 weeks away. February 23rd is Nevada, right? Again, about 3 weeks away. And then March 1st, less than a month away, it's Super Tuesday, right? Alabama, Alaska, Arkansas, Colorado, Georgia, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Vermont, Virginia. So who can compete in those states? And can Ted Cruz sort of take his win in Iowa and translate this into the nomination for the Republican Party? I say no. I still think it's a two-man race between Ted Cruz and Donald Trump. Why do I still believe in Donald Trump after his loss in Iowa? Well, let me explain. The Donald Trump vote is unlike anything we've ever seen in politics, right? Like, this is not something we've ever expected to see or could see coming. I mean, it's completely blindsided all political media. And I think that the caucuses are a different story of how to vote, right? You've got to be a little more in tune to politics to make it work, which I don't think any of Donald Trump's supporters are. I don't think any of them, you could accuse them of being like vastly tuned in and plugged into politics and the political process. They're protest votes, right? We know what they are. They're protest votes. And so I was listening to This American Life, actually, from this past week, and they were talking about some of the Donald Trump voters. And like bikers who have never voted before are setting up rallies inside biker bars and like voter registration drives and things like that. Those guys, they want to show up, they want to vote, they want to leave. They're not going to stick around for caucuses. So I still think there's a chance that Trump wins in New Hampshire and in South Carolina and in Nevada. And then you hit Super Tuesday. I think Alabama goes Trump. I think Arkansas goes Trump. I think Georgia goes Trump. I think Oklahoma goes Trump. I think Tennessee goes Trump. I think Virginia could go Trump. Maybe Virginia, you could maybe end up with like a Rubio or something. But like there's a lot of Trump in the future. Tell me where I'm wrong. 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Moving on past Super Tuesday. You've got Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, and Maine just a couple of days after Super Tuesday. Again, friendly Trump states, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, right? And it just keeps on going.
My question.
Go ahead.
What does Rubio need to do? Because I don't think Cruz is a factor. I'm with you. I think Cruz is fading after Iowa.
I don't think this is Cruz's one win, but I think he fades.
But what does Rubio need to do to keep Donald Trump away from winning those southern states?
So I don't think Rubio can compete with the southern states. I really don't. He's not from a southern state. Yeah, all right. I know Florida is in the South, but Florida ain't a southern state. Florida is Florida. That's a whole other country. But I don't think a guy like Marco Rubio can compete in the South. Look at who he is, right? He's a young minority. He doesn't, you see, I'm going to make a joke about his boots, but that's a factor in the South, right? Things like that, the way he dresses, things like that. I don't know what it's going to take to get Marco Rubio to be competitive. Money, yeah. I want to play that.
Big thing.
Can I play that Chris Christie clip of the very first one where he talks about Marco Rubio? Because Marco Rubio came in third in Iowa, and I'm with Chris Christie here. Everybody acts like this is like a huge win for Marco Rubio.
I heard Marco giving his speech, and I'm like, damn, did Marco win? Like, I was listening to that speech, and I was like, oh, God, man, run that Chiron down below there. Did Rubio actually win? No, he came in third.
Yeah, he came in third.
Chris Christie, by the way, using Chiron in a town hall.
Yeah, how about that? Chris Christie, I think, is pretty much a done deal. I don't see how he gets back in it, but he's certainly trying to go after Rubio, which is interesting. He thinks Rubio is sort of a non-factor, a third-place loser, and yet he's talking about him like he's his main competition. Chris Christie would love to be third place. But I think that for Rubio to get back in the game, he's going to have to establish himself as the grown-up in the room, right? Ted Cruz is unlikable. Full stop. I don't know how or why anybody in Iowa voted for Ted Cruz, but they did, and good for them, whatever. But for Rubio to get back in the game, he's going to have to make the appeal that he's the grown-up in the room and Trump and Cruz aren't. And I think it might be a really hard argument to make at this point. 866-55-PRESS is my phone number, 866-557-7377. Hello, Diane from Fort White, Florida. How are you?
Good morning, darling.
Good morning, my dear.
Born and raised in Gainesville, Florida, you don't get any more Southern than me. In response to Marco Rubio, we can't stand him in the state of Florida. Alan Grayson is going after his seat, and we hope he gets it. Rubio's done. He's not going to be president. He's done with politics. And in response to your comment about bikers, half the scooter trash I know are convicted felons. They can't vote anyway.
Did you say scooter trash, Diane? Because that might be my favorite thing ever. That might be my favorite thing ever. I love the term scooter trash. That is so good.
Well, and you know what kills me on the news when they say bikers and they mean cyclists?
Yeah.
Oh, that drives me crazy.
Yeah. No, when I say bikers, I mean motorcycle riders, aka scooter trash.
Absolutely, darling.
Oh.
You have a great day.
You too, my dear. Thank you so much for calling. Is Diane the greatest or what?
Are you hosting the Paul Feinbaum show today? SEC Radio.
She is the greatest.
But that was the best term ever, scooter trash.
Scooter trash.
Thank you,
Diane. I love that term. I love your call. You could call back anytime at 866-55-PRESS. I don't know that Marco Rubio is toast the way that Diane is saying, but I think it is very, very, very difficult for him to find a way back into this race. I don't know that I agree with this three-man race stuff. Right? You keep showing up in third place. Guess how far that's going to get you? Third place, right? 866-55-PRESS is my phone number. Give us a call, and of course, we're going to talk more about the 2016 politics with David Jackson from USA Today. We don't know where David is, by the way. He's either in Iowa or New Hampshire. He had some trouble getting out of Iowa, so we'll see where he is up next. You'll find out along with us here on The Bill Press Show.
Your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
So you're drowning in student debt, and it looks like there's no way out. Have you considered bankruptcy? Of course not. It's a dirty word, and everything you've heard says students can't file anyway. It didn't start that way. Bankruptcy laws were enacted in the 19th century to give people a fresh start. But not all debt is created equal. Take this, for example. We have you, your buddy Carlos, and Grandma Lucy. Carlos got laid off. His credit card debt was too much to handle, so he filed for bankruptcy. It will totally screw his credit, but at least he can start fresh, and after 10 years, his credit report should be fine. Grandma Lucy's home lost half its value. Now her mortgage isn't worth paying back. She says F it and decides to file for bankruptcy too. Then there's you. You didn't land that dream job, you're struggling to make ends meet, but the interest just keeps piling up. With a broken heart, you've written off the possibility of buying a home, having kids, and getting married because, hello, who wants to deal with your crazy baggage? But in reality, you want those things, and your education was supposed to get you there. Now you need a fresh start, just what bankruptcy was intended for. You try to file, like Carlos and Grandma Lucy, and that's when you realize it's not as easy for you as it was for them. In the 70s, Congress worried that students were using bankruptcy to abuse loan programs. That wasn't quite true. Still, over the years, Congress gradually stripped student debtors of their options. The Bankruptcy Reform Act of 1978 was even called discriminatory toward students by the chairman of the subcommittee. Student debt was singled out and lumped with criminal debts. Today, if student debtors try filing for bankruptcy anyway, they'll need to prove their debt imposes an undue hardship. But who's to say what qualifies as an undue hardship? Even some judges have said they don't get it. This lack of clarity in the law could work in your favor. A Harvard researcher discovered in 2012 that few students actually try to discharge their loans through bankruptcy. Of the students who filed for bankruptcy to settle other debts, only 0.1% try the same tactic on their school debt. The craziest part? Just under half of them got their debts fully or partially discharged. In other words, you can file for bankruptcy on your student loans. Depending on your situation, it might just be a matter of trying. At least there's that.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Yes, indeed, it is the Bill Press Show, 47 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Bill is out on that book tour, selling his book, Buyer's Remorse, which if you'd like a copy, you can get one at our website, BillPressShow.com. By the way, we will sell it to you for cheaper than you could buy in the store, and we'll sign it and personalize it. Bill will sign it and personalize it however you'd like. So, what a deal. BillPressShow.com. You want to get your copy of Buyer's Remorse. Like I said, Bill is out on his book tour, so you're stuck with me. But, of course, no show would be complete without our good buddy David Jackson. No Wednesday would be complete without David Jackson, who is David, where are you? We didn't know where you were going to be because I know you were in Iowa, and then a lot of people got stuck because of the snow. Where you at?
They sure did. I'm in Nashua, New Hampshire.
You made it out!
Yes, after a harrowing drive to the airport in Des Moines yesterday morning, and after a long wait on the tarmac, we got to from Des Moines to Chicago, raced over to the connecting flight to Manchester, about 10 of us, 10 reporters, and we made that, and we all got to Nashua late last night. Unfortunately, our bags didn't make it till this morning, but I've got my bag now. They call it 3 a.m., so we're here. We made it.
You should just do what Ben Carson did, fly to Florida and get some new clothes.
Well, a lot of people did that. I think a lot of people went to Washington to do that very thing. So
yeah.
There's a lot of sympathy for Ben Carson out here on the trail.
I get it.
I decided to come straight on. And my bag mate, we're fine. We're fine. I'm going to see Ted Cruz here in a couple hours. So all the reporters and all the candidates are here, and we're ready to go in New Hampshire.
Well, let's talk about Ted Cruz because he pulled out a big win in Iowa. How did he do it? How did he beat the Trump powerhouse?
Well, it's funny you should mention that. Early in the evening, I was talking to someone connected to the Cruz campaign who was very annoyed with the news coverage of Trump trying to attract all these new voters. There were very big crowds at the Republican caucuses, and everyone thought that boded well for Trump. And this guy was saying, hey, look, Ted Cruz has a specific program to bring in new voters. We're bringing in new voters, too. And he outlined all the stuff and talked about all these things they'd hit and stuff like that. And the Rubio people were also saying they were going to bring in some of these new voters. And guess what? Cruz and Rubio were right.
Yeah.
And Cruz's organization turned to be the superior one. They were bringing people out from all over the state that had never voted for before, and they were voting for him.
Well, this is one of the sort of interesting things that we wanted to see how it would play out. Would all of this enthusiasm and the big crowds and all of that for Donald Trump translate into votes? And at least with this first shot in Iowa, it didn't exactly happen, right?
Well, he got some votes. I mean, the top three finishers got more votes than Santorum or Huckabee did when they won the caucus the last two times out. But there just wasn't. I don't think that Trump had the organization the other two guys did. And I think that made a huge difference in a lot of these vote totals.
Can you tell us a little bit about the organizational aspect of this and how it's going to play out moving forward? Because the Iowa caucuses are a totally different ball game,
right?
And will the organizational effort be as important moving forward since Trump doesn't have it?
I think organization is more of a challenge in Iowa because of what you mentioned. It's a caucus. You have to be there at a certain time, and you have to be there at 7 o'clock on a Monday night. So you have to make sure people have transportation. There's not weather issues or children's issues. You have to basically pick people up and drag them over to the caucus and explain to them how that works and how to submit their ballots. You have to have speakers at all these caucuses promoting your guy, and we're talking over 100 of them. So it's quite an organizational feat to get people there at the proper time and have them actually cast the ballot. It works similarly in primaries, but that's a little bit easier because you've got all day to bring people out to the polls. So organization is important in any campaign. You got to find your people. You got to persuade them to vote for, and you got to get them to the polls. It's a little bit easier in a primary than in a caucus.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because Ted Cruz sort of pointed out that this isn't going to be an election run by the media, right? Which is exactly what Donald Trump would like.
Yes, he would.
An election run by the media, but maybe this is the first sign that it's not going to stick. I wonder what happens from here. How are the polling numbers looking in New Hampshire now? I know that Trump had a pretty big lead. Has the Iowa caucuses affected that yet? Or do we know yet?
We don't know yet. And I'm sure people were out in the polls. People were out in the field yesterday asking that very question. So hopefully we'll start looking for polls late Friday or early Saturday. That'll start to register the Iowa effect, if you will. And the question will be if anybody can dip into that big Trump lead. I mean, as it stands now, you got to think he's the favorite because he's been leading here for so long and people know him. But if there's a sign that his lead is diminishing in light of what happened in Iowa, then you can look for people to make a bid. As it stands now, I think more people are competing for second and third.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see a lot more attacks on Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz than will on Donald Trump, which is an interesting phenomenon, but there it is.
Yeah. Isn't that fascinating how this thing turns? All right, David. Well, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for joining us. He's David Jaggs from USA Today. Out on the campaign trail. We'll talk to you next week, David. Appreciate it, buddy.
Right. Thank you, Peter. Good luck.
All right. Thanks, man. Yeah, we'll see how this all plays out when we talk to David next week. We'll have a winner from New Hampshire, so we'll see how it's looking. Peter Ogden in for Bill Press today. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
A letter to the girl I used to be. Dear Emily, every time I watch baseball, a voice I no longer recognize whispers, Ethan, do you remember? When you were going to be the first girl to play in the Major League Seattle Mariners rally cap. But to be honest, Emily, I don't. Dad told me that like it was someone else's bedtime story. But I do know you had that drive. Didn't let anyone tell you to wear shorts above your knees. Didn't care if boys thought your hair fell on your shoulders just right, but with girls, sleepovers meant the space between your shoulder and hers was a 6-inch fatal territory. The year you turned 11 was the first time you said out loud that you didn't want to live anymore. In therapy, you said you wouldn't make it to 21. On my 21st birthday, I thought about you. You were right. At 19, you started to fade. I tried to cross you out like a line in my memoir I wished I could erase completely. And maybe I'm misunderstanding the definition of death, but even though parts of you still exist, you are not here. Most of my friends have never heard your name until now. I've been trying to write this letter for 6 months. I still can't decide if it should be an apology or not. But now you will never hear Emily Smith announced at a college graduation. Get married. Give birth. When the prescribed testosterone started taking effect, my body stopped producing the potential for new life every month. I thought about your children, how I wanted them too. I let a doctor remove your breasts so that I could stand up straighter. Now, even if I somehow had those children, I wouldn't be able to nourish them. My body is obsolete, scarred cosmetic, but never C-section. I was 4 days late. They will never be grandparents. I was 1 week late. They will never hold their lover's sleeping figure. I was 11 days late. They will never breathe in a sunset and a sunrise in the same night. I was 2 weeks late. They will never learn to jump rope. I was 3 weeks late. They will never shout, "Watch, Mommy, watch me on the slide." I was 2 months late. A piece of us will never wrap their arms around our leg for comfort, but just to keep them from falling down. And I am sorry that this process is so slow, and all you can do is wonder if you ever had a place. You did. You still do. Don't forget that. Yours, Ethan. P.S. I never hated you.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show, 56 minutes past the hour. I am here filling in for Bill Press today. My name is Peter Ogburn. You can find me on Twitter at Peter Ogburn. You can find the show at BP Show. You can also find Jamie Benson on Twitter at JBensonDC. I encourage you to follow all of the show accounts. By the way, Jamie, I'm going to open up the mailbag. Can I open up the mailbag? I'm going to open up the mailbag because during the last break, we got a little piece of mail. I won't say who it's from. You don't know who it is, but a little piece of mail. Jamie, you are so damn fun to watch. How much would I have to donate to get a date with you? And how many listeners have asked the same question? Hey now. Hey now. Now, look at Jamie. Jamie is Jamie is turning purple. Here's the thing. We do a free speech drive every so often, right? We raise money, right? What if we did a date with Jamie open up an auction thing?
No. We will not do that.
Jamie, just think about how dedicated are you to the show?
Maybe like a coffee date.
How dedicated are you to the show?
I'm pretty dedicated. I'm here at 4 o'clock every morning.
Yeah, but will you go on a date with someone who donates to go on a date with you?
Depends on how much they donate.
All right. So now we know what type of man you are. Now we're haggling over price. I love it.
And it's got to be like a steak dinner or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm going to run this up the flagpole, go up to front office, see what they think about this idea. Ooh, man. It's getting hot in here. Stay tuned. We got a lot more show coming up here on the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn with heartthrob Jamie Benson across the glass. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, guys, I want to take the last part of the day to change our focus and talk a little bit about water. There's rivers, there's lakes, there's huge oceans. You get thirsty, you just go and you get some water, right? We rely on rain for our water. We even rely on snow. But what if it doesn't rain? What if it doesn't snow? We have to get the word out about water conservation. I want you to tell your parents, your friends, your neighbors, how important it is to save water. It's up to you guys to save the planet. All right? What if it doesn't rain? What if it doesn't snow? We have to get the word out about water conservation. It's up to you guys to save the planet.
Hi, I'm Mark LaFleur, and I produced the short film you just watched called Aquaforce. California is experiencing one of the worst droughts it's ever had, and now, more than ever, it's important for everyone to do their part to help conserve water. The reason I made this film is because I wanted to make something fun and informative that would get people talking about the California drought. Obviously, this is an important issue because we have a limited amount of clean drinking water. I think it was very important to let people know, especially young people, that this is an important resource, maybe our most important resource, and it's something that we can't take for granted and we certainly can't waste. I really wanted this to be something that children would respond to. The kind of thing that any kid anywhere in the world, no matter what language they speak, could understand the story and be entertained by it and leave it knowing that this is something important, that if they didn't already know about this, that it's now going to be a part of the way that they think about water, the way that they live life, and that it's something that they'll share with their friends. The fact that they watch this video once or twice and they immediately understand that water is important, that's it. That was the whole point of this thing, to get it into the conversation, to make it something that kids are thinking about, talking about, that they're aware of, and that they know is important. This project was self-funded, so we relied on the support of our community to make it happen. It was pretty amazing to just have our neighbors, our friends, and our coworkers come together and volunteer their time and their homes and their kids to make this thing happen. Thanks for checking out the video. Keep the Aquaforce going, and thanks for watching Free Speech TV.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we go. It is The Bill Press Show, the second hour of the program today. Wait, what? It's Wednesday. Why did I write down Tuesday on this show? Ugh. It's all one big blur this week. You know what I mean? Like the caucus stuff. Monday just rolled into Tuesday. It's Wednesday. Hi there. February 3rd. My name is Peter Ogburn. I'm in for Bill Press today, tweeting at BP Show. Lots to talk about today. Still sort of picking apart the Iowa caucus results, which we will give you again here coming up. I'll talk about what it means and how it's going to affect New Hampshire, which is next week, the big primary there. We already talked to David Jackson earlier today from New Hampshire. We're going to be talking to Ben Terrace, who is, I think Ben is stuck in Iowa still. I don't think he made it out. And then also we're going to go to the sports desk because this weekend is the Super Bowl. And we're going to talk to Travis Waldron about that a little bit later on. So lots of show coming up today. Plus, this story is so crazy. We're going to talk about this later on in the hour. Just going to read the headline. 25% of federal workers would consider leaving their jobs if Trump becomes president. A quarter of the federal government would leave if it was President Trump. That's kind of hilarious. I find that to be pretty hilarious. We spent a lot of time last hour talking about the Republicans and what the Iowa caucus results mean to them. We're going to kick off this hour talking about the Democrats and what the results mean for the two of them now that Martin O'Malley has suspended his campaign, a.k.a. quit, left, got out of the race. We're going to be doing all that with the staff here on the show. Jamie Benson is running the board today. Follow him on Twitter at JBensonDC. And by all means, send him an email.
Let's take more reader mail. We'll keep you anonymous. I like this whole reader mail thing.
The mail sack, the bag o' mail, whatever you want to call it. I'm a fan. I want more of it today. Send emails in. The best way to do it, really, because we've got like the Bill Press Show at gmail.com. Just send Jamie an email, right? You've got your email up on your Twitter handle.
Yep.
Yeah, so go.
It's very simple. My Twitter handle is jbensondc. My email is jbensondc@gmail.com.
Very easy to remember. Fire off an email to Jamie. Reach out and touch someone. Our phone number is well, after the last email we got.
I don't know if
maybe we ought to pick a different turn of phrase there. 866-55-PRESS is our phone number. Ray Rogers is standing by to take your calls at that number. And Cyprian Bolding is here, keeping us on the video stream live on youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKRTV, and on freespeechtv.com. Okay, by the way, we're going to talk about the Democrats here. We got a couple of calls and I got a couple of tweets about exactly what the results were because yesterday the results for the Iowa caucuses were not official. They didn't become AP official until later on, until like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, for that matter. The thing dragged on forever. By the way, Bernie Sanders has not yet conceded because it's that close.
That's very important.
It's very important. And look, Rick Santorum, they thought Mitt Romney won Iowa until weeks later when they went back and called it for Rick Santorum. They sort of made an oopsie and called it for Romney and then went back. The final results officially 49.9 for Hillary Clinton, 49.6 for Bernie Sanders. So Hillary gets 29 delegates, Bernie gets 21 delegates. Martin O'Malley, by the way, came in with 0.6%. He gets no delegates.
Well, he gets 8 superdelegates.
He gets 8 superdelegates.
For what it's worth.
Yeah, so while we're talking about superdelegates, 701 for Hillary, 697 for Bernie. That is razor-thin, right? But as I've said, and as Bill has said, a win is a win is a win is a win, right? Hillary Clinton won. She moves on to Iowa. But there's nothing that Bernie Sanders should feel bad about in the loss in Iowa, and it will be very interesting to see how it translates. I want to talk to you about that at 866-55-PRESS, whether or not Bernie Sanders should feel good about his performance in Iowa and how he should look at his campaign moving forward. 866-557-7377. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Jamie Benson.
Yeah, just a couple of other stories for you on this Wednesday morning. Hey, good news for fans of criminal justice reform. Announcement from the National Registry of Exonerations came out with a report on Wednesday, this morning, I should say. The U.S. saw a record number of exonerations in the year 2015. Nearly 40% of the cases involving individuals who were exonerated were related to homicides.
Oh, wow.
We are talking of falsely accused inmates, obviously, or,
This is actually huge, and I think that we're sort of, for years, we've been in this sort of golden age of this type of stuff, right? Because DNA testing, you're going back and testing 30-year-old cases. But, like, it's only gotten better, right?
Right, and you look at something like making a murder.
I was about to say, shout out Manitowoc
right
County,
yep.
right? That just still has a problem out there. But that's good news.
So the report also notes 149 people falsely convicted of crimes were exonerated last year. That's 10 more than in 2014. Since 2011, the annual number of exonerations has more than doubled, and there are now an average of nearly 3 exonerations a week.
Wow,
yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I love that.
Stay tuned for more on that story, hopefully next year.
Yeah, right.
I told you we'd be have a food-heavy full court press this morning.
Let's do it.
Shout out to Gawker, Gawker.com, for releasing an investigation on which presidential candidate's campaign has spent the most money on pizza.
Oh, man.
Can you guess who might rank here at the top? Mine would be Chris Christie.
I was about to say Chris Christie.
Chris Christie would be a logical guess, but no.
I'll say I'm gonna guess it was probably Ted Cruz, only because he had such a big field operation that's like the food of those field workers, right?
Ted Cruz ranks 6th.
6th?
Ted Cruz spent $2,481 since April. This was between April and December.
Wait, is it Jeb?
It is not Jeb. This is very surprising to me. Coming in at number 1, Hillary Clinton. $9,000, just over $9,000 on pizza. Alley Cat Pizzeria, Domino's, Sal's Pizza, Little Caesars Pizza Hut.
Little Caesars?
Broadway Pizzeria. She's the pizza queen.
By the way, I know you have a special place in your heart, again, for Pizza Hut.
I do. Twice a year. I do Pizza Hut twice a year.
I can't do Pizza Hut, Jack.
Can you do any of them? Domino's, Papa John's?
I don't. I'll tell you this. You could go into any town in America, and their local, greasy, boring, bland pizza is better than any of the chains, right? That's always my move. If I'm ever on the road and I get pizza, which is I don't do that often. Mm-hmm. I never get Domino's or Pizza Hut. I always find a local thing because it's always those things.
I agree. And finally, for fans of free foods, we've got a couple of food holidays. I use quotations here.
Oh, it's my favorite kind of food.
Coming up right around the
Free.
corner. February 4th, Bruegger's Bagel, the national chain, the regional chain, national chain. There's a couple here in
Yeah,
DC,
we got a couple here. I've seen
in
them.
Maryland.
I've never had them.
as well. On this Thursday, tomorrow, Bruegger's is celebrating their 33rd anniversary. They're giving away 3 bagels to each customer.
Oh, wow.
All you have to do is provide a name and email address. You can go online.
Oh, that's the hook, huh?
To BrueggersBagel.com to get on their mailing list to get 3 free bagels. February 8th.
Wait, did you say you get 3 free bagels? Oh, man, I thought you just said free bagels.
No.
3 bagels. 3 free bagels. That's worth giving up my email address. Yeah, absolutely.
Next Monday, February 8th, Panda Express is celebrating the Chinese New Year. I don't like this one so much.
Don't eat Panda Express.
The only thing I ate Panda Express earlier this week.
Oh,
the only thing that they are giving away here is they're calling it a gold bar. Do you know what a gold bar is?
No.
It's an egg roll.
Oh, get out of here. That's terrible.
Yeah, so all you got to do is they got a coupon online.
You eat Panda Express?
It's surprisingly healthy. Some of the dishes are surprisingly healthy and surprisingly good. They did a little revamp over the past couple of years, and it's...
Look, I love trashy, Americanized Chinese food. But if you're going to do it, again, Panda Express.
Okay. All right, and the final one, I think you're going to like this one. You got to wait till March 8th for this one, but that's National Pancake Day.
Oh, yeah.
IHOP, the International House of Pancakes, will be offering a free short stack of buttermilk pancakes. No other purchase necessary. You can walk in.
You just walk in and get it and leave.
Throw a stack at you and you're done.
Buy the bacon. Buy some sausage.
Yeah, get some sides. You know, show your server some love.
Yeah. You gotta hook it up a little bit.
So free food days coming up.
And just
Bill Press
because
Show for more announcements.
Yeah, right. And just because you get a free stack of pancakes doesn't mean that you don't have to tip. Tip on the free pancakes.
And always tip 20%, unless it's just absolutely horrid service.
Well, yeah, but always. But like if you get a comp or you get like something free, you like tip on the free thing too, right? Like don't walk
you
in
use that actual value.
Yes, don't
value,
walk in and get a stack of pancakes, which would cost you $5. Tip the 20% on the $5. Don't assume that you don't have to tip on it because it's free.
Right.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. All right, let's talk about the Democrats because it was look, Hillary Clinton won, but I think it's also safe to say it was a good night for both Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders on Monday night. I want to play that clip. I want to start with some Bernie stuff. That first one where he talks about the political force that he was up against. This is where we were and where we ended with Bernie.
We took on the most powerful political organization in this country. Last night, we came back from a 50-point deficit in the polls.
And that is sort of the success story of the Bernie Sanders campaign. They came within a fraction of beating the powerful political force maybe in the world in the Clinton campaign. And I think Hillary Clinton would be a phenomenal president. This is not a, who won in my eyes thing. I just think that this election is so crazy and so eye-opening for a lot of reasons. Bernie goes on, and this is sort of the crux of the issue, right? Progressives want someone who is progressive. As Bernie points this out, Hillary is not always that person.
Do you think Hillary Clinton is a progressive?
Some days, yes. Except when she announces that she is a proud moderate. And then I guess she is not a progressive.
My guy Bernie Sanders spitting that hot fire.
Hot fire.
Throwing some shade.
Hot fire from Bernie Sanders. And Hillary had to sort of address that right away about whether or not she is a progressive. And this, I think, is a smart line for Hillary Clinton. The first one.
I am a progressive who likes to get things done. I'm actually a progressive who likes to make progress. Funny thing. And I know we can do that.
And this is sort of the issue here. Because a lot of voters, I think, in their head, they want to vote for Hillary Clinton. And in their heart, they want to vote for Bernie Sanders. And that's okay. That's a great problem to have as a Democrat and as a progressive. Because I think Hillary brings up a good point when she says that a lot of the things that Bernie Sanders wants to do is going to be very, very hard to get done with Congress. We have seen the obstructionism in Congress We've seen how hard it is for President Obama to pass something as like Obamacare, right? Which, for all intents and purposes, is a fairly conservative plan. It's certainly not a single payer. Single payer was taken off the table very early on by the Obama administration. And the Bernie Sanders campaign thinks that they can get a single payer. And that would be awesome. That would be awesome. But I don't know if it's a reality. And that's okay. So when Hillary Clinton says she's a progressive who wants to get things done, I think that there's a little room there to say, I'm a progressive, but I'm also a realist about the situation in Congress. And that bugs me that that's the reality. I hate that that's the reality. And someone like Bernie Sanders who says, I will accept nothing less than this, and I will fight Congress to get it done, is really, really appealing. And this isn't an endorsement for either candidate or anything like that. I think that they both make very good points. And Hillary Clinton, that second clip, sort of points that out, right? Like that, yeah, some of these things sound good on paper. Do we have that second Hillary clip? I just want to play that second Hillary clip really quickly because she sort of says, like, it sounds good on paper.
You ask yourselves, does this just sound good on paper or can this get done? And who's most likely to be able to deliver?
Yeah. And that's the question you have to ask yourself. So Bernie did very well in Iowa. We move on to New Hampshire, which is close to his home state of Vermont. I think there's a good chance that Bernie could win in New Hampshire. And I think there's a good chance that Hillary Clinton wins in South Carolina and in Nevada, frankly. And then again, we get to Super Tuesday where it's a toss-up. Like a lot of things could happen. A lot of the race could change. But I think we got a glimpse at the fact that this race is going to go the distance. It's going to go for a while. I think that they are fairly evenly matched between people who are voting with their heads and voting with their hearts. And that's my question to you at 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Do you vote with your head or do you vote with your heart? And how do you think this is going to play out? Does Bernie have a real shot? And is the Clinton campaign and sort of, do they have a problem on their hands? 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Your calls coming up right after this. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is the story of my grandfather. When I was 19 years old, his right hand was crushed in a printing press. He was supposed to lose the hand, but a young doctor saved it just in time for the war. This is the story of the war. My grandfather repaired tanks. Behind the front lines, away from the cameras, he would pull pieces of dead men from the machines and send the machines back out to the field. This is the story of the war a decade later. Back then, you didn't talk about depression. There was no such thing as PTSD. When my uncle, age 7, asked him who won the war, my grandfather said, nobody. This is the story of my grandfather, the machinist. I have a newspaper from 1981, a story about the Nobel Prize for Physics, a photograph of the winner, a Harvard man standing by his machines. This man is not my grandfather. Beneath the photo, my grandfather has written, I designed and built almost everything in this picture. They worked together for 10 years, but my grandmother says the physicist never even remembered his name. If you asked that Harvard man, there would be no story of my grandfather, just a pair of disembodied hands. This is the problem with stories. They have to leave something out. The editor cuts a line and someone's face fades. The editor says 200 words or less and suddenly a whole family goes missing. The spotlight isn't about the light, it's how it makes everything around it dark. My grandfather's face is erased from every story. The machines survive, but the man who made them doesn't. The machines make the photo, but their maker is out of frame. But we choose where to point the camera. We can choose how to tell the story. We can choose which clothing the hero wears. I could tell you this is a story about a soldier, or I could tell you this is a story about the blue-collar man, but really, this is just the story of my grandfather. I did not know him. I was born too late, but my family tells me his name. Alfred Franzosa. I know that name might only live in this moment, that there are other stories with greater stakes, but still, I will tell you his name. I will repair this old machine. I will let my grandfather live again because I could not know him while he was living. Once, when he was younger than I am now, his right hand was crushed by a printing press, crushed by other people's stories. When it healed, he began to build. He used his hands to build tanks and his hands to build cradles. His hands were the last thing to touch dead soldiers and the first to touch his newborn sons. He built a good family, and that family built me, and now I use my hands to build his story. The story is not a eulogy. A eulogy seals the casket. A eulogy lets no air out. This story is a resurrection. Jesus was not resurrected by God. He was brought back by the people who told his stories. It does not take a miracle to raise the dead, to leave behind the tombstone and take the name with you.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
The only thing we can do is have the people finally rise up and say, we're not going to take it anymore, and make sure that our voice is going to be heard.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Yes, it is the Bill Press Show. 27 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Rockford, sitting in for Bill Press today. Taking your calls at 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Let's jump to the phones. We got Alice in Madison, Wisconsin. Hey, Alice.
Hi, good morning, guys. How are you?
I'm doing well, my dear. What's your take on this?
My take is I'm a realist, and I'm also an idealist. And the reality is I believe that you can vote for Bernie Sanders with your head and your heart.
Yeah.
And what I feel that we all know, all Bernie supporters know that he's not going to be able to accomplish everything that he wants to accomplish. We get that.
Yeah.
But he's willing to fight for us, and we know that. Where Hillary Clinton, I think, will not. She is backed by super PAC money and corporate power and Wall Street. So we have to vote for Bernie. This country needs a true political revolution, and the only way we're going to get that is if we vote for Bernie. And we can change over the Congress, and we can get a lot of things done.
I think that's a great call, Alice. I really, really do. And yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to say that you can only vote with either your head or your heart for Hillary or Bernie, and that's the choice that you have. But I do understand the concerns on both sides. But at the end of the day, what a better choice by miles than the Republicans have. So I'm happy whichever way it turns out, and I think it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this goes moving forward. 866-55-PRESS is our phone number. We're going to be talking about Donald Trump coming up next. Stay tuned.
This is the Bill Press Show.
I have run these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness,
My beauty.
my power.
My life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am tired.
I am tired,
tapped,
and tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name
is
Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
The Canyon Maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
Yes, it is The Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill today on this Wednesday, February 3rd. Lots to talk about today. Don't forget there is a Democratic town hall tonight, presidential candidate town hall. CNN's countdown clock, by the way, is getting a hell of a workout this week. Right, between the caucuses and this, 13 hours, 26 minutes, 36 seconds before the Democratic town hall.
And yet NBC can't put one up because we still don't know if we're having a debate on Thursday.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. They can't do that yet. All right, so we're talking a lot of 2016 stuff this morning, still sort of picking through the Iowa caucus numbers. But a very, very interesting story came across our desk here, and we wanted to talk about it with Eric Katz. He's a staff correspondent for Government Executive. He's in studio with us. Hey, Eric, thanks for joining us, man.
Oh, thanks for having me.
You can follow him on Twitter at EricM_Katz and read his good work at govexec.com. So I'm just going to read this headline, my hot little hands. 25% of feds would consider leaving their jobs if Trump becomes president. That is fascinating. Let me ask you a question, Eric. First of all, these federal workers, right? Like, who all are we talking about, these people who would leave their jobs?
Well, we didn't break it down by agency, but these are it's a representative sample across government. So, all the Defense Department, a lot of State Department, Homeland Security, Veterans Affairs, all of these sorts of agencies.
And it's interesting because these are all agencies that work. I mean, look, the commander-in-chief is the president of all of these people, too. It's like their CEO almost, right? They all sort of work for the president in some way. So these people sort of know and are intimately aware of how a presidential administration carries on their business. So while we all see it and we cover it and we play it out and we watch what happens on TV, these folks actually really kind of work for the presidential administration. So it should be pointed out that like they know a little bit about what they're talking about here.
Right, yeah. Well, I mean, ultimately their boss is the head of the executive branch. So they have, a lot of them, 25% of federal employees have decided that if their ultimate boss becomes Donald Trump, they would strongly consider finding a new line of work.
I think that's fascinating, right? Because Donald Trump is the Mr. CEO, right? Like that's his whole thing. He knows how to run a business, so he knows how to run a country. And I think these people see right through it.
Right, and he actually, every once in a while he'll talk about it on the campaign trail. How are you gonna? They'll say to him, "How are you gonna build the wall? How are you gonna round up all these, immigrants that are in the United States?" And he says, "Well, good management. I know how to manage." And I guess at least among mostly Democratic federal employees, they're not buying it.
So I want to dig into some of these numbers a little bit because I think that they're fascinating. 25% of federal workers said they would leave their job or consider leaving their jobs if Donald Trump is president. Are there any? How do the numbers break down for other sort of GOP candidates or frontrunners?
Well, what we asked for other candidates was, and for Trump is. Are you proud? Would you be proud or embarrassed to serve under that administration? And Trump was the only one we asked if you would leave. But for 6 in 10 said they would be embarrassed to serve under Trump, and that was far more than anyone else. The next one was Hillary Clinton. She said that 45% said they would be embarrassed to work under Clinton.
That's interesting because I could see maybe there being along the lines of political breakdowns, right? Like more progressives or Democrats working in the federal government who would say they'd be embarrassed working for Donald Trump. But that's overwhelming numbers for Hillary Clinton, 45%.
Yeah, Hillary Clinton actually, when we polled favorability among federal employees, was almost as unpopular as Trump overall. She had they both had almost negative 30 favorabilities. So. They're not huge fans. The federal workforce is according to our results, fairly partisan, slightly more Democratic as you'd expect, but not overwhelmingly so.
Yeah. Why is it? Do they feel that way for Hillary Clinton? I think we've established a little bit about Donald Trump, but what is it about Hillary Clinton? Do they get into that at all?
It's not totally detailed there. I think. A lot of them have seen how she ran the State Department. I guess not everyone was pleased with it. A lot of it is just partisan driven. Her favorability among Republicans, both in the federal workforce and overall, is really, really down in the dumps. So
yeah, that's really interesting. Okay, I want to play a Trump clip, by the way, because this is just like one of his many ways that he'll approach something like terrorism, right? Department of Homeland Security, the terrorists. You know which one I'm talking about, right, Jamie? Because yesterday he was speaking in New Hampshire, and this is his very diplomatic answer to how he would handle terrorists.
If we are attacked, somebody attacks us, wouldn't you rather have Trump as president if we're attacked? Oh, we'll beat the shit out of them.
Great. That, I think, lends itself to the argument that some of these federal workers would consider leaving their jobs. If this is the guy you've got to answer to for matters of national security, I'll beat the S out of him. Yeah, Okay. So, I mean, the lack of experience, the bombast without actually using any of his diplomacy, I think really turns a lot of people off.
Yeah, well, what's interesting is we've been getting a ton of feedback and on social media and in our comments, and a lot of the Trump supporters have come out to say, good, who needs them? 25% leave. The federal government's bloated. Good riddance.
So many of these Republican candidates say they're going to just slice about 25% off of the federal government anyway. So
Exactly.
maybe that's a good point. They might see it as a positive. How do some of these folks view the current President Obama?
Well, one question we asked among Democratic federal employees is, if you could vote for the president for a third term, if you were eligible, would you do so? And a majority said they would over the current field. So,
oh, really?
He's still very popular among the Democrats. Overall, I think it's pretty similar to what you see nationally. He's about even, favorable, unfavorable. There doesn't seem to be as much animosity toward him.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
I do find that fascinating. I mean, they've had 8 years or 7 years, I guess, of working with the guy. I mean, I don't know if I could say that about my boss, right? After 7 years of working with him, if I want to work another 7.
Yeah,
I'm kidding, of course. Bill is the greatest, but that's an interesting way to look at it, right?
Yeah, they're willing. At least most Democrats are willing to give him another 4 years in charge.
Yeah. All right, good stuff, man. I really appreciate it, Eric. That's we're going to tweet out a link to this article. 25% of federal employees would consider leaving their jobs if Donald Trump becomes president. Make sure you read his good work at govexec.com and follow him on Twitter at EricM_Katz, Katz, staff correspondent for Government Executive. Thank you so much, Eric. I really appreciate you coming in.
All right, thank you.
Good stuff. All right, stay tuned. More Bill Press Show coming up.
Follow us on Twitter at BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
It occurred to me tonight, for the first time, that the long-winged insect that over and over again rams its body into the wood of my front door might not know what he's doing. He might not have a plan. Maybe that's just how he flies, and that is where the door is. And I remember you. The last time I saw you, a few weeks before we would graduate from high school, and a few days before you let a bullet dissolve on your tongue, dancing in a warehouse rave, sweat-drenched and strobe light battered, thrashing your arms back and thrusting them forward. The floor could get so bright and loud, we all slowed down to be more careful, but you kept dancing full sprint tornado, and sometimes you'd spin full weight into a wall and just spread your arms against it and sway back and forth like a lover reunited. This long-winged insect is not trying to get into the house. It doesn't know there is a house. Can't imagine a life beyond that door. All it can see is the light. You and I were both 17 when you died. And ever since then, I have envied you. How you are remembered for towering, unclaimed potential instead of living to look regret in the face. You didn't have to come home 3 weeks later and explain to your little brother why you took too much medicine. Your addiction is remembered as a tragedy, not a betrayal. Your suicide attempt became a suicide, not an unpaid hospital bill. And only tonight did it occur to me that maybe that night when you let your teeth touch metal, you might not have known what you were doing. You might not have had a plan. Maybe you had hit that door so many times you couldn't imagine it might let you through. I'm still ashamed to admit it, but I have always secretly believed you did it for me, that you wanted to show me that there is a way out of all of this. Not so that I would follow you, but so I would understand that every day that I am alive is a day that I choose to be alive. And when the music stops, you still get to keep on dancing. And when the light is so bright it blinds, you can dance with your eyes closed. And if in that dark you come up against a wall, you keep your arms out wide and you dance with the wall.
Presidential candidates straight with your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. 45 minutes past the hour. Tweet out a link at BP Show for that article by Eric Katz. It's an interesting read. You should go check it out. There's a lot of data in there. Earlier this hour, we were talking about Hillary Clinton versus Bernie Sanders, which is where we are. On to New Hampshire they go after Hillary narrowly won the Iowa caucuses by a fraction of 1%. And my question to you is how this is going to play out, because it's now apparent that Bernie is a more serious candidate than I think Hillary Clinton gave him credit for, and that a lot of people gave him credit for. And so we got ourselves a real fight here. We got ourselves a real race. Hillary won in Iowa. I predict, as I gaze into my crystal balls, that Bernie Sanders is going to win in New Hampshire. And I think, what are you looking at me for? And I think. Sorry,
I spaced out for a second.
I think Hillary is going to win in South Carolina, and then I think she also wins in Nevada. But then Super Tuesday, I think, could be really, really interesting because there are a lot of states up for grabs on Super Tuesday: Alabama, Alaska, Arkansas, Colorado, Georgia, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Vermont, Virginia. I could see those going a lot of different ways. Let me see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those I could see easily going to Bernie, right? Just saying, I could see those going to Bernie. So we got a real fight, and this is going to go for quite a while, not unlike the last time Hillary Clinton ran for president. This thing went down to the wire in a lot of ways with President Obama in 2008. So my question to you is, who's got the real shot here? Who's got a better shot? And is this a real fight? Are we going to see sort of the political machine of Hillary Clinton sort of take over? Taking your calls on this at 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Jamie back there just hard criticizing everything that I do today. That's okay. Yeah, he's sitting there with the thumb ready to just bang, just drop it on me. 866-55-PRESS is the number that Shelby from Alabama called. Hello, Shelby.
Hi.
Roll Tide, by the way.
Why Eagles?
Oh, Shelby. Oh, right to the heart. Oh. What's your take on Hillary versus Bernie?
Well, Bernie is very passionate. He stirs your emotions.
Yeah.
But Hillary, I think, with my mind, with reality, she has, as you know, been vetted, and she's gone through everything the GOP can throw. But Bernie being new, he has not yet seen all that they will bring out about him that could possibly not be true. But it will be in the media, in the earshot of people, and I think Hillary will be the better, so I will vote with my mind.
That's a good way to put it, Shelby. I mean, it's a really hard choice for progressives, right? Because you could go either way. You're looking at two lifelong politicians, or lifelong activists for that matter, who have both accomplished many, 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 many great things, both of them. And you at some point have to make that decision of how this is going to go. And it looks very clear that Democrats are going to have a very hard time with this. And that's a good thing. That's not negative towards either candidate. I just think that this race is real. I mean, knock, knock, open up the door. It's real. That there is a real fight going on between these two. Tim in New York. Thank you for calling the Bill Press Show. He called 866-55-PRESS, which is something you should do. What's up, Tim?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Very good. Okay, I don't like Hillary's comment that I'm a progressive that can get things done, because I really think that when you aim small and you ask for crumbs, of course you can get things done. I think she's too accepting of the system that is no longer of the people, by the people, and for the people. And Bernie says, hey, we need to fix this government first and get on to doing things we can do if we don't, limit ourselves to working within a system that belongs to, corporations, Wall Street, and everybody else but the American people.
It's a very good line of thought there, Tim. I think that you bring up a lot of good points. And it's a hard thing for Democrats to deal with. I think that, I'm not going to go down the path of Bill and write and talk about his book that he's written, Buyer's Remorse. But I think that there's something to be said about a president who wants single-payer health care and who will stand up in front of the American people and say, I demand single-payer health care insurance for the people of America. Here's why, and I will accept nothing less. Boom. That's one way to go about these things, right? And that is what Bernie is willing to do. And Hillary, again, Jamie, can I play that clip, the first thing from Hillary where she talks about she's a progressive who gets things done? Because this is sort of the line for Hillary that with the current climate in Congress, it's a lot harder to get everything done that you want to do.
I am a progressive who likes to get things done. I'm actually a progressive who likes to make progress. Funny thing. And I know we can do that.
Is that moderate? Yeah, sounds like a moderate answer. Yes. So what do you do with that? 866-55-PRESS. Drew from Chicago. Hello, Drew.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for taking the call.
Yeah, man. What's your take on this?
Well, my thing is with the biggest issues, income inequality, cost of higher education. Another huge issue that all those stem from is corporate money in politics, and I think that's driving a lot of voters out right now. They're tired of it. If Hillary Clinton wants to wrap this up, then she needs to be a doer of the word and quit accepting corporate money and really call what it is in the political system, which is corruption, and then get it out of there and start over and start a clean campaign and start forward. She's never going to beat Bernie on that issue. He's been on that issue from the beginning, and she's, taking money from Wall Street. It's well documented. She needs to turn away from that and make a stand against corporate perversion of the political system, or she's never going to have that authenticity with the voters. That issue is number one with them.
Thank you, Drew. I appreciate the call. Calling from Chicago. By the way, remember, we are on Twitter at BP Show, I'm just going to burn through a couple of these really quickly. Hillary has 1 million enemies. Her haters will spend all of their money and time opposing her. There is another tweeter here says, Bernie Sanders is the real winner in Iowa. I'm not going to go that far. I think Hillary won that caucus pretty clearly, but it was a good night for Bernie as well. Another one says Republicans will put up ads of Stalin, Castro, Mao to link Bernie with communism, a la Willie Horton. Maybe. I think Bernie has looked down the barrel of that gun of socialism and has answered it pretty well. So we will see. Tonight is the Democratic Town Hall on CNN, so we'll get some more details about where they stand. 866-55-PRESS is our phone number. My name is Peter Rogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Stay tuned.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
For Mike Brown. I'm sick of writing this poem, but bring the boy. His new name, his same old body, ordinary black dead thing, bring him. And we will mourn until we forget what we are mourning. And isn't that what being black is about? Not the joy of it, but the feeling when you're looking at your child, turn your head, then poof, no more child. That feeling, that's black. Think, once a white girl was kidnapped and that's the Trojan War. Later, up the block, Troy got shot and that was Tuesday. Are we not worthy of a city of ash, of 1,000 ships launched because we are missed? I demand a war to bring the black boy back no matter what his name is this time. I at least demand a song. A song will do. Or a head.
This is why you took a second job. Why you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing. Why you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show, 57 minutes past the hour. Just a little nugget here on the caucuses. Republicans turned out in bigger numbers than Democrats in Iowa, which is unusual. Republicans counted more than 182,000 caucus goers. Democrats had a turnout of 171,000 caucus goers. Want to know where politics ranks in the world, by the way? Right? So, you put those numbers together, you're, a little over 350. Kim Kardashian West, on the afternoon of the caucuses, put out a poll. Which album title do you like best for the new Kanye album coming out?
Far more important poll.
Swish, Waves, or So Help Me God? The winner was So Help Me God at 46%.
Nah, see, Kanye's already had a song called I Am a God.
Yeah.
I think we moved past that. I'm okay with Waves.
I liked Waves. But the interesting tidbit here is in that poll, 439,000 people voted in that poll. So about 100,000 more people voted in Kim Kardashian's poll than in Iowa. You did it, America. More show coming up next, The Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The hardest moments for me is when I'm laying awake in the middle of the night and I'm thinking about all the times I made a pitcher of Kool-Aid with the water, or I boiled a pot of corn or potatoes with the water. Those thoughts just stick with me in the middle of the night, and I feel horrible as a mom that I didn't know that something was wrong, but how could I have known? There's no way I would have known.
The spill at Dan River happened when a drainage pipe that ran underneath an ash basin and dam collapsed, sucking out 6 decades of waste and spewing gunk directly into the river.
My husband and I just kind of looked at each other like, should we be concerned? We live right next to an ash pond, and this was coal ash spilling into the Dan River, and we learned at that point all of the toxins that were included in coal ash.
A situation like Dan River, where there was a catastrophic disaster, gets people's attention, but the fact is that these coal ash pits have been leaking and poisoning people's groundwater and the state's surface waters for decades. Coal ash is the residue left behind after coal is burned in a coal-fired power plant. A large coal-fired power plant can burn 10 million tons of coal a year. When the organic matter in the coal is burned away, what's left behind are these trace minerals, things like arsenic, lead, mercury, selenium, and chromium. And these are highly concentrated. The coal ash can have concentrations of these contaminants that are 10 to 100 times greater than the level in the coals themselves.
Coal ash pond number 1 is right behind my house, literally pretty much in my backyard. We were approached by a neighbor who was wanting to have their well tested, and we decided that maybe we should have ours tested as well. They found hexavalent chromium at 4.5 parts per billion.
So in talking to the residents, we have discovered anecdotal evidence of an extraordinary number of cancers for this fairly small community.
Some of us in the community got together. We started kind of talking about all the cancer that we've seen in some of our family friends in this community. I think we had somewhere in the neighborhood of around 70 names. So we had some help from our river keepers putting a map together, and it was a little shocking to see it. You know, I still have a hard time looking at it.
Technically, EPA has not regulated coal ash as a hazardous waste, but it is undeniable that coal ash contains many, many hazardous substances that are hazardous, in fact, to people and the environment. And the only reason they have not been regulated as such is because of intense lobbying efforts by the coal industry and its allies.
A lot of these chemicals are simple elements, but when you find them at the levels that they exist in around coal ash ponds, then you're starting to talk about cancer, brain tumors, you're talking about birth defects, developmental problems, neurotoxicity.
We began to look at legal options, cases that we could bring in court to protect communities and their citizens from these toxic leaking time bombs. In 2002, North Carolina enacted a public financing mechanism for judicial elections. This kept private money out of judicial elections.
The repeal of the public financing program in judicial elections in North Carolina creates a dangerous precedent for all. and it gives corporate polluters and other special interests the opportunity to elect the judges that they want. And this is important for us all. Everyone should care about this. Because when you think about the fact that the state and the federal government have basically abdicated their responsibility to regulate these issues, the state courts are the last stopgap.
I think this is no longer a problem that's going to go under the radar. It has been exposed, and I am confident that we will ultimately, with the facts, win out and ensure that we have protected waterways.
And so this is something that we all should care about. If we're worried about the water we drink and the air we breathe, we have to be concerned about money and judicial elections.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show, 6 minutes past the hour here on a Wednesday. You know, earlier I said Tuesday and nobody corrected me. It's all blending into just one long, dumb day, right?
I told you I was spacing out earlier. I wasn't...
Jamie's in there staring at the wall. Come on, Jamie.
I'm doing the job. There's no mistakes yet so far this morning.
I mean, congratulations.
The bar is low. I get it.
Congratulations, I guess. You didn't royally screw up the show in the 2 hours that we've been on the air. I have. I'm owning up to my screw-ups. For the whole first hour, I said it was Tuesday.
And you almost tweeted a cell phone number out.
I came so close to tweeting out the cell phone number of one of our guests today because peek behind the curtain here. Jamie and we never speak face to face, right? Because I'm in one room and he's in the other, and I've got.
Well, that's also in life.
Also in life, we never speak eye to eye
on the show.
We'll be in the same room and we text each other. Yeah,
but we're not. You know.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, we're to be perfectly honest, we don't like each other very much.
No.
Let's be clear about this. Yeah, so I sent Jamie the phone number for one of our guests. I came so close to tweeting it out because I was going to tweet out the link of the place you could watch it. So basically, I'm doing great. It is Wednesday, February 3rd. It's hump day, and boy, am I tired. My name is Peter Ogburn. I'm sitting in for Bill Press. Today, we're still ripping apart the results from the Iowa caucuses. Looking ahead to New Hampshire, which is going to be next week, where we will be broadcasting live, I believe. Run of the board today is Jamie Benson. Good morning, Mr. Benson.
Good morning, Peter.
This is a good, normal interaction between the two of us, not electronically. We speak with eye contact.
It's a rare occurrence.
It's very weird. I feel very odd. Our phone number is 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. If you call that number, the voice you hear on the other end of the line will be that of Ray Rogers, standing by to take your calls. Phone line's been getting quite a workout this morning, by the way. Lots of people want to chime in. And Cyprian Bolding is our video operator who is keeping us live on Free Speech TV and on YouTube, youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKR. Later on in the hour, we're going to be talking about the Super Bowl with Travis Waldron from Puffington Host. I'm not all that excited about the Super Bowl.
No.
Right? But I have to tell you, you seen this Time Hop app? You familiar with this thing?
I'm familiar with Time Hop.
It's this thing that basically reminds you of all the dumb S you posted a year, 2 years, 3 years ago. It just reminded me 3 years ago today, because I don't throw as many legendary Super Bowl parties as I used to, but I still throw a Super Bowl party. There's the shot of me drinking the last of the moonshine punch out of a giant punch bowl, which was a Sunday. That was the Sunday, by the way, that I didn't come into work the next day.
I was literally just going to ask you, how'd Monday morning go?
Didn't show up. I tried.
Is that the first time you've ever done that?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I was overserved at the Super Bowl party, and I think I can't remember what I blamed it on. I didn't say I got too ripped up. I just said I
Oh, so you called out, like you didn't sleep through the alarm? Or
No, I woke up. Lord knows I tried.
Cell.
I woke up. I went and I took a shower, and I believe it was around the time that I realized that I was laying on the floor of my shower that I said, "Yeah, work ain't gonna happen today, Jack. I'm just gonna go ahead and cuddle up back in bed." And I did exactly that. 10 minutes past the hour. We're going to be talking about the Super Bowl because it's this coming weekend. We're going to be talking about it with Travis Waldron. And we're also going to be talking to Ben Terrace, political reporter from the Washington Post, who is live in Iowa in just a moment. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Jamie Benson, what do you got?
Just a couple of other stories for you on this Wednesday morning. Let's stick with football for a second.
Yeah.
This guy's not playing in the Super Bowl, and I don't think ever will play in the Super Bowl. Johnny Manziel is once again in the headlines. The troubled Cleveland Browns quarterback almost certainly will likely not be with the team after the month of March.
They're tired of him.
The new director of football operations, Sashi Brown, at the Cleveland Browns, announced on Tuesday, "We've been clear about our expectations for our players on and off the field. Johnny's continual involvement in incidents that run counter to those expectations undermines the hard work of his teammates and reputations of our organization. Quote, his status with our team will be addressed when permitted by league rules."
Yeah, he gone.
So why are they not announcing just yesterday he's gone, he's out the door? Well, it comes down to money. The Browns don't currently have the salary cap space to release Manziel on February 8th, the day after the Super Bowl, and the first day that they are eligible to do so. The cap is going to increase in March. The new NFL year starts on March 9th, so we'll likely see Johnny Manziel cut from the Cleveland Browns.
He's gone so fast. And by the way, underreported story this past weekend, Johnny Manziel is being looked at for a domestic violence case, right?
In Texas, yeah.
In Texas.
An ex-girlfriend, where he's from.
Let's be clear about this, right? Like, Johnny Manziel's it's not funny. He's not a party boy. He's a dangerous dude.
Yeah. And just a quick rundown of his career with the Cleveland Browns. Started 8 games for the Browns over the course of 2 seasons, appeared in a total of 15, only 50% of his passes, I guess, isn't terrible, but 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and a 2-6 record.
I mean, hell, that's good enough for the Washington football team to throw a giant contract at him.
Ooh. And sticking on to some important news from the CDC when it comes to women and drinking. CDC putting out a statement yesterday saying, an estimated 3.3 million women who drink are sexually active but not on birth control. And 3 out of 4 women who want to get pregnant don't stop drinking alcohol when they stop using birth control. And they're saying this is important. We need to start talking about this again. The CDC warning that consuming alcohol during pregnancy can lead to fetal alcohol spectrum disorders. And a pregnant woman, obviously, who drinks alcohol passes it along to her baby, who doesn't develop a liver until later stages of that pregnancy.
Wow.
CDC saying risks are too high here, especially given that all women don't know that they're pregnant until they're 4 to 6 weeks along.
That's a thing. That's a real thing.
And then there's also the whole thing about shaming women who drink while they're pregnant, saying that that's something you shouldn't be doing. I think a statement like this from the CDC is a good, fair, even balance. We should at least be talking about this in a situation of
That's
safety.
a good point. I've given a woman the gift of a child 2 times in my life, I'm proud to say. And there was, right towards the end, the doctor was like, have a glass of wine. Right towards the end.
Really?
You can have a glass of wine. One glass of wine, but perfectly normal.
I think
the
CDC is going to say that's a bad idea. Just,
maybe.
They want to go the full.
That's not bad.
All right, our last food story of the morning.
Hit me.
This one's a good one.
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A.
Dude, I love Chick-fil-A so much.
Chick-fil-A is so great. They have a new marketing tactic here on the paper bags that you get when you go to Chick-fil-A, touting the chicken nugget diet. Yep. The paper bag allegedly reads, quote, kick off the new year by adding one healthy habit to your routine. Here's a good one. Eat smaller meals.
Bruh.
Like an 8-count pack of grilled nuggets.
Grilled nuggets.
Every 3 to 4 hours.
Grilled nuggets.
People magazine ran the numbers. The diet will cost you $23.10 per day. Does not include beverages. But the nuggets, which I have had, they're not terrible, but I would still always go with the fried nuggets, are low-cal with 140 calories and 3 grams of fat per serving. I'm going to guess that's probably about 6 nuggets. Maybe 8.
6? For me to eat 6 grilled nuggets? That's like throwing a snowball into hell. That ain't going to cut it.
You know what my favorite part of this report is? This is from ABC Radio. The last line of this report, Chick-fil-A has not yet offered diet suggestions for Sundays when its chains are closed. Which everybody that has a Chick-fil-A near them knows the struggle of waking up on a Sunday and going, oh, I really want Chick-fil-A.
All the time.
Oh, Chick-fil-A's closed.
All the time. All the time. I'm never going to order Chick-fil-A grilled nuggets. I'm going to go on record.
I don't want to say why I did it, but...
What? You did?
Sometimes when I go out...
You got a grilled nugget?
Sometimes when I go out to
That ain't a nugget, by the way. That's a little piece of grilled chicken.
Hold on. Sometimes when I go out to eat, because we have this strange schedule that we do, and I don't feel like cooking dinner later, if I go get lunch, sometimes I will get 2 meals at the place that I'm going out, and I tried it at Chick-fil-A once.
This is crazy.
And I
This is a
took a
crazy
sandwich
thing.
for lunch.
You said some crazy things.
And I got an 8-pack of the grilled nuggets to put on a salad for dinner. Yeah, I know.
Good. By the way, I'm dead serious. Those aren't nuggets. They're little pieces of grilled chicken. Nuggets are fried.
They look like nuggets, though. Nuggets
no,
are named for
no,
their
they
appearance.
Don't. No, they don't. They look like little pieces of grilled chicken.
Agree to disagree.
Yeah. Look, I'm right, by the way. 866-55-PRESS. Weigh in. But for now, we're going to talk to Ben Terris, political reporter for The Washington Post. You really should follow him on Twitter at bterris. That's BTERRIS. Good morning, Ben. Thanks for joining us, man.
Good to be here. Also, they are not nuggets.
My man.
Oh, no.
My man.
Ben, I thought I had your vote.
Best guest ever.
I've had them before. They're fine, but they are not nuggets.
They are not nuggets. That's true. That's just the way it goes. Ben and I are correct. Let the record show. So let's talk about a couple. You're out in Iowa, by the way.
I am.
You didn't get out. You didn't get out ahead of this storm, huh?
It's just me and a few other stranded journalists, and then people who actually live in Iowa.
It's so weird. These Iowans are like, what are the political press doing still here after the caucuses? Aren't y'all usually gone by now?
At one point, there was 1,000 people from Washington, D.C. Somebody referred to a restaurant to me the other day as the Capitol Grill of Des Moines.
Oh, God. It's so time to get out of there. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Well, talk to me a little bit about what you saw out in Iowa with these caucuses. Your story is a fascinating one about the caucus process and how one of these caucuses was even held in someone's living room.
Yeah, that's the one I went to. So I went to a caucus in a house. There's 5 caucuses held in houses in Iowa still.
Wow.
The vast majority of them are held in cafeterias or auditoriums or gun shops, according to an Esquire story I saw.
Wow.
But the one I went to was in someone's living room, and so 53 people showed up. They sat in the living room. This was a Democratic one, so they got to yell at each other and try to convince each other to switch sides, which most people didn't do. One undecided voter showed up, was convinced to vote for Hillary Clinton or caucus for Hillary Clinton. And so, I just sat there in a living room, watched people argue about Monsanto and about Bernie Sanders not being electable or being too electable, or, it was some back and forth in the middle of the process. It was kind of fun to see, actually.
How does this, it's interesting, and I agree, it's cool, but at the same time, you would think that, here in 2016, we've evolved a little bit beyond, something like this in someone's living room, right? Or am I crazy?
No, you're right. It shouldn't be this hard to vote, right? Voting should be unbelievably easy.
Yeah.
And this is not just a little bit difficult, but it's difficult. I was in the middle of a cornfield, so it was far away. You had to get out there. You had to spend your whole evening sitting around. It took over an hour, from beginning to end. That's a long time to cast a vote for president, especially if I there's a blizzard coming. There's a chance that you might not be able to make it out. The Republicans and Democrats have slightly different processes. The Republican one, you still have to show up to caucus, but you actually get to do a secret vote, secret ballot, kind of like normal voting. But the Democrats, they have the full-on process.
Well, you talk about the sort of the back and forth that you saw in this House. I mean, how, and I'm not saying this in a negative way, but how contentious is this Democratic primary that it looked to you in that particular situation, right? Because it was obviously a razor-thin win for Hillary, and they certainly have been stepping up their, not necessarily attacks, but their rhetoric a little bit. I mean, how were the two crowds handling each other?
Yeah, honestly, at first I thought it was just going to be the quietest evening of my life, where I would just be in some nice living room, and a bunch of people showed up and they sat in their corners. Nobody showed up for O'Malley, but there were people in the Hillary corners and there were people in the Bernie corners. I thought that would be it, and for a while it was, but then it kind of did get contentious. They had an opportunity to give speeches where you say, why your candidate should be the one, and for the Hillary team started by talking about how great Hillary was, but then it turned to the fact that Bernie is unelectable, he's a socialist, which created cries from Bernie people that at least he's idealistic, it's about big ideas, at least he's not taking money from Monsanto, and it kind of did turn into a fight. There's a little bit of cursing in this, in this quiet living room in the middle of a cornfield.
It's kind of awesome. I kind of love that.
Yeah, it was the best part for me.
How do you see, and I know you're not there yet, and I don't want you to get too far into the prognosticating, but how do you think that sort of carries over into the coming states? We've got New Hampshire up next week, and then we just start moving forward. So how do you see that sort of carrying over into the big picture, the national picture?
Well, certainly the passion and the discourse will. I have no idea. I'm not going to guess how many votes are going to come in for whoever, but certainly it's this race is close because people are passionate on both sides, and there are differences and there are actual reasons to like and dislike the two candidates depending on where you stand. So I think it's good for the process, really. I mean, it means that people are actually thinking about why they're casting a vote for somebody rather than just casting it because they've always been voting Democrat their whole life.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think it's great to sort of see it in action, and it might get a little contentious at times, but I think that's probably, I mean that is how these things work. So I'm all for it. All right, good stuff, Ben. I really appreciate you joining us. Do go follow him on Twitter. That's Terris, BTERRIS, political reporter for the Washington Post. Good luck getting out of there. And are you on to New Hampshire next?
At some point.
At some point. Hey, we're going to be broadcasting live from there next week, so let's hook up. Let's get you on the show.
Sounds good.
All right, dude. Safe travels. Ben Terris from the Washington Post. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press. We'll be right back.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
Today, in this country, we are having a conversation about police violence, the killing of black men, and what all that means. It is sad that this is happening and that every day there's a new incident to cause us to keep thinking about it and talking about it. But it is extraordinary that the American people are having to deal with this every day, whether you're watching CNN or MSNBC, Fox, or ABC News. All the news channels are talking about police violence and what does that mean against black people. Many people probably look at that, certainly have looked at it in the past, and they have said that these poor black men are doing bad things, and that's why they are ending up in confrontations with police. without any understanding of their lives of these poor black young men. Part of what has been going on for decades is that poor black people live in communities that suffer from hyper surveillance of the police. The police are more likely to be in their communities. The police are more likely to arrest them. The police are more likely to stop them even if they're not doing anything. And that is what is so hard for the American people to believe, that you would get stopped and searched and arrested by the police and not doing anything. But this is starting to come out as people are telling the stories over and over again. But this has been the condition, this hyper surveillance by police, making it more likely for people to get a record, to be known by the police, and then once they get in the system, it is almost impossible to get out because of the whole system of being on parole and missing an appointment or fraternizing with a person who has a criminal record, getting you right back in the jail, and then going back again and again and again. This is coming to be seen by the American people in a way that it has never been seen before. But why are people in these communities in the first place? That's getting peeled away. People are there because of housing discrimination. They are there because this is the only place where affordable housing can be found. They are there because that's where their families live, and people are drawn to being in communities where they are comfortable. The combination keeps people in these low-income communities where they are an easy target for hyper-surveillance and then everything that comes from it. And so as we think about these issues, we have to understand that while you as an individual in this society, as a white individual, you may not carry personal racism, but that does not keep the system from operating in a racist way.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
This is the Bill Press Show.
27 minutes past the hour on a Wednesday before the Super Bowl. We're going to be talking about it with Travis Waldron from Huffington Post. I can't shake this Chick-fil-A thing, Jamie. It's driving me nuts. Jay Benson DC is your Twitter handle, at Jay Benson DC. He started a Twitter poll. Should Chick-fil-A nuggets be actually called nuggets? They're grilled nuggets. I say they're not nuggets. They're just little pieces of grilled chicken.
Here is my argument, clearly laid out. They are determined to be nuggets based on their size, not their crispiness.
What else would you call a nugget? Right? Like there are chicken nuggets, which are always fried, little tasty little nuggets. What other nuggets?
I don't have anything else. I mean,
I've seen corn nuggets, right? At the Minnesota State Fair, they're like little batter fried hush puppies, right? Those are fried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can call some chocolate bits nuggets. Chocolate nuggets.
You sure about that? I think you just made that up.
Yeah, I pulled that one out.
I think you just made that up.
We're talking about chicken here.
Let me get some of those nuggets of chocolate.
I'm just saying they're allowed to call them grilled chicken nuggets.
You know what I do with little pieces of grilled chicken? I put them on a kebab. Right? They're called skewers or kebabs. I never once say, let me get a couple of those nuggets off of that kebab. No, it's grilled chicken.
They're serving them as nuggets, as standalone dishes, little nuggets.
Little pieces of grilled chicken. You put them on your salad. You ever put nuggets on your salad? Which, by the way, that sounds pretty damn good.
It was great.
Little chicken, but like fried chicken nuggets on a salad.
Yeah, I've done that too.
That sounds delicious. But you put the grilled chicken nuggets on your salad. If you could put it on a salad, it shouldn't be a nugget. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
Jay Benson DC on Twitter. Go vote.
Yeah, go vote.
My name is Peter Ogg. We're talking sports with Travis Waldron next.
This is the Bill Press Show.
I have run these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness,
My beauty.
my power,
My life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am tired.
I am tired,
tapped,
and tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name
is
Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
The Canyon Maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show, 33 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Rodburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. We've talked a lot about Iowa and the caucuses and the upcoming primary. We're going to take a break to talk about some fun stuff because this weekend is, of course, Super Bowl 50. No more Roman numerals. Super Bowl 50. Super Bowl 50. It is the Denver Broncos and the Carolina Panthers. And so to talk about that is our very good friend, Travis Waldron. He is the sports reporter for the Huffington Post. You can follow him on Twitter at Travis_Waldron. You can also read his good work at Huffington Post. Travis, thank you for coming in, man.
Thanks for having me.
First and foremost, by the way, I don't want to drag this out, but Jamie Benson says that the Chick-fil-A... Travis has a take. Don't get mad.
I know Travis's take already.
Jamie
Benson's wrong.
Says that the Chick-fil-A grilled nuggets are actually nuggets. I say they're not nuggets.
That's
they're just
wrong.
Little pieces of grilled chicken.
Right.
They are nuggets, yes or no?
No.
No, of course they're not nuggets.
Chicken nuggets have to be fried.
Chicken nuggets have
Chicken
to
should be fried.
Chicken should be fried in general.
We came up with the right way to cook chicken.
You know why
are
people
people trying to change this?
Exactly. You know why people eat grilled chicken? Because they ate like crap the 2 days before, and they're like, oh, I got to eat something that's got protein, but is also kind of healthy.
Grills are for other types of meat.
Yes.
Or you're like me and
deep fryers are for chicken.
Steaks.
Or you're like me and you want to eat Chick-fil-A twice in one day, so you get the fried chicken sandwich for lunch and the grilled chicken nuggets for dinner.
See, that's a cop-out.
That's a total cop-out.
It's a life hack.
No, it's no
It's
life
not
hack.
a life hack.
You know what a life hack would be? Eat a Chick-fil-A sandwich for lunch and then another one for dinner. Pro tip, life hack. If you like Chick-fil-A, eat the stuff that you like.
Jamie, I'm just saying, if you show up with grilled chicken nuggets to a Super Bowl party this weekend,
try that out.
You're not getting in.
Try that
You're
out.
not getting in.
Peter's house.
Try that out.
The best.
Try that out. See how that happened. A swift kick in the ass right out the door.
By the way, you know what this was?
What?
This was a secret ploy to get Chick-fil-A to give me free food for a year for defending their grilled chicken nuggets.
Look at you. Well, look,
Take it to Twitter right now.
You know what? If that's what you got to do, that's worth it, I would say.
As long as they give you the fried stuff.
As long as they're fried and not like a lifetime guarantee.
Yeah, what if they only give me the
They should give you a lifetime
nuggets.
card. Chief, you can have all the grilled nuggets you like. What a twist of fate.
Until they're discontinued next week because nobody wants them.
Nobody buys them. Yeah, exactly. All right, Travis, you excited for the Super Bowl?
I'm excited for the Super Bowl because it means it's almost baseball season.
There you go. Analysis. And it is. I am kind of excited to see. It's rare that you actually see the new generation and the old generation sort of clashing the way that we do with Peyton Manning for the Broncos, a legitimate old man, versus Cam Newton, a young guy. Both quarterbacks, Peyton for the Denver Broncos, Cam for the Carolina Panthers. I want to talk. We're going to talk about both of them plenty, but I want to talk a little bit about Peyton Manning first because I got in a conversation with someone the other day about the best athlete of your lifetime that you've seen go start to finish, right?
Yeah.
And for a lot of people that are my age, Michael Jordan, I think, sort of takes that, right? I'm in my mid-30s. Jordan easily takes the cake. But beyond that, Peyton Manning's not a bad answer, right? Because he had a great career at Tennessee, and he moved on. He did great things for for a couple teams in the NFL. I think Peyton Manning has had an amazing career.
I could see that.
I'm not a Peyton Manning defender. Or anything.
I think he's in the conversation. I think Kobe's in that conversation for me.
Totally.
I think Alex Rodriguez is in that conversation for me.
Yeah.
I think you can go down the list of football players. I think Calvin Johnson has to be in there. Right. And Peyton's certainly in there. I mean, in terms of accomplishments, sure. I think that the thing that is remarkable to me about Peyton Manning is how long he's done it and how at the level he's done it and the different ways he's done it. This is one thing we've always talked about with Tom Brady is, he's had Randy Moss or he's had Deion Branch and, the mini receivers and he wins.
Yeah.
And now we see, did you see the 538 piece from this week that Peyton Manning has had the worst season for a quarterback that ended in the Super Bowl of all time?
Oh, really?
And,
it's a fascinating.
And the thing is, he is essentially reverted into a guy who, don't make a lot of mistakes, please.
Yeah.
And our defense is good enough to get you there.
He's Trent Dilfer now. He's essentially Trent Dilfer.
Yes.
But at the same time,
but he's still good enough to win you that game when you need to.
Exactly.
And I think the AFC Championship showed that, he can still make 3 or 4 throws that when he needs to beat you, he can.
All that being said, do they stand a chance? The Denver Broncos stand a chance against the Panthers?
I think they have a chance, but I think the road for the Broncos to win is far narrower than it is for Carolina, and especially the way Carolina's been playing.
What Carolina did to the Cardinals
it's insane, and I think that
utterly
was. I think this is if we had to have an AFC NFC Super Bowl matchup, this is probably the best one, other than maybe a completely healthy, clicking New England team.
Sure, yeah,
but. The game that I'd wanted to see all year was Panthers-Cardinals.
Yeah, me too.
And then it wasn't a game.
It was terrible.
And, everybody talks about Denver's defense, and they destroyed New England. They limited Pittsburgh, who was one of the most explosive offenses there was. And great. Their defense is awesome. It's the best defense in the league.
Yeah.
Carolina's the best offense in the league and has like the number 2 defense in the league.
Right, that's the other thing.
Like
their defense
the thing is
sick.
that Carolina isn't just a team that goes out and puts up a load of points. They get the ball back, they get off the field. The defense is incredible. And I wonder if, you look at Peyton and their inability to really put a game away against Pittsburgh, which is a mediocre defense. A good offense would have had New England out of that game.
Yep.
Early in the second half,
100%.
And they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I wonder if Carolina comes out and figures out that defense, how does Denver keep up?
It's a quick win. Yeah, it's a quick win for Carolina, I think.
But I do think Denver's defense is good enough to keep them in the game.
Well, that's why they didn't ride into the Super Bowl on Peyton Manning's arm.
Right.
They rode into the Super Bowl on Denver's defense, and that's what's so interesting. I want to talk a little bit about Cam Newton because I've said this many, many times. I'm a certified Cam disliker for one reason only.
Because he went to Auburn.
Because he went to Auburn, right? But all of the arguments that you hear these days, right? And I went to University of Alabama, ride or die, like Roll Tide, okay? But all of the criticism you hear about Cam Newton these days has actually made me kind of start to like him a little bit more because I think the criticism is just insane.
I think we're at this point now where the backlash to the backlash is stronger than the actual backlash is.
Totally agree.
We have all these people writing now like, Cam Newton, if you hate Cam Newton, there's not a lot of people out there hating on Cam Newton at this point. There have been in the past.
Sure.
I mean, you can go back and dig out the tweets of people who said that Christian Ponder was going to be a better quarterback or that, so-and-so, whoever was going to be a better quarterback. And look, Cam's the man.
How good is Cam Newton?
The scary
when
thing,
you look at this season specifically,
it's been one of the most impressive. Maybe not numbers wise. I don't think even numbers wise does it justice. I think the way Cam commands a game, and you look if you go back to the first week of the season, the first week of the preseason when they lost Kelvin Benjamin. Second-year wide receiver, was supposed to be a breakout guy, Cam's biggest target other than Greg Olsen, and everybody thought the Panthers might be in trouble.
Yeah, 8-8 team.
Right, and here they are with Devin Funchess and Ted Ginn. Who are these guys?
It's crazy, right?
Ted Ginn is a cast-off from 6 different franchises, the Miami Dolphins, my favorite team included.
Yeah.
I was glad to see him go when he left Miami, and now here he is, the number 1 wide receiver on a Super Bowl team. It's what Cam has done it's incredible. And this is my question for Denver's defense. That the way that they did it to Brady was they got to him.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get to Cam?
Yeah.
So my question, and this is for you, Travis, is I see the Panthers sort of being like the NFL's Golden State Warriors, right? Where you have Cam Newton being the clear-cut MVP this year, right?
Yeah.
Similar to Steph Curry. Will they come back next year like the Warriors came back this year, being as good as they are now?
I want to see him win the Super Bowl first.
Yeah.
I want to see him win the Super Bowl first. I think the thing is they get Kelvin Benjamin back next year. And Kelvin Benjamin had an outstanding rookie year.
Oh my God!
And so that this is a team. I haven't gone through their roster. I don't know what they lose defensively. How that changes because the NFL is so weird with the salary cap and everything that rosters change year over year more than they do in other sports. But I think the NFL is a quarterback's league. You can't win without a quarterback.
Yeah.
You very rarely win without a quarterback.
Right.
And the Panthers have Cam Newton.
Yeah.
For the foreseeable future. And I don't understand, he's still a young guy.
Right.
He's still
very young.
He's still walking into his prime.
Yeah.
And
that's terrifying.
If this is the taste of Cam, the real quarterback, the real leader, the real game-changing quarterback, we've kind of gotten hints of that in the past. There's been signs that Cam was this good. And now he's just this good.
He's just this good. Yeah.
And I'm really excited to see Cam Newton on the biggest stage.
It's hard to replicate success after success after success, especially in football, right? But I'm with you. I can't wait to see what he does on the biggest stage and then see what he does next year.
He's just so fun.
Yeah. It's like, it is, I mean, I'm not the first person to say this by any stretch, but it's like watching someone play a video game.
Yeah, but even beyond that,
That's what Steph is.
People talk about, like, I don't particularly ascribe to the sports figure as role model thing.
Right.
But how can you design a better athlete for that than Cam so far? I mean, he's...
Well, I don't like the way he dances.
Right, but he's out there smiling. He's having fun. Like, this is a sport that is absolutely brutal.
Who's having more fun?
It brutalizes people's bodies.
Yeah.
It brutalizes their brains. It, like, let the man have some fun while he's out there doing it. And he has a blast. And, I love Cam. I think he's fun to watch. He's a great, ambassador for that team. I have a friend who lives in Charlotte. Says it's just nuts down there.
Oh, I'm sure it's crazy.
And it seems awesome. And I'd love to see him. I'd love to see him get one.
Yeah. All right, 45 minutes past the hour. We're going to talk a little more football and get into some other stuff with Travis Waldron, sports reporter for the Huffington Post, coming up next. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Stay tuned.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
It occurred to me tonight, for the first time, that the long-winged insect that over and over again rams its body into the wood of my front door might not know what he's doing. He might not have a plan. Maybe that's just how he flies, and that is where the door is. And I remember you. The last time I saw you, a few weeks before we would graduate from high school, and a few days before you let a bullet dissolve on your tongue, dancing in a warehouse rave, sweat-drenched and strobe light battered, thrashing your arms back and thrusting them forward. The floor could get so bright and loud, we all slowed down to be more careful, but you kept dancing full sprint tornado, and sometimes you'd spin full weight into a wall and just spread your arms against it and sway back and forth like a lover reunited. This long-winged insect is not trying to get into the house. It doesn't know there is a house. Can't imagine a life beyond that door. All it can see is the light. You and I were both 17 when you died. And ever since then, I have envied you. How you are remembered for towering, unclaimed potential instead of living to look regret in the face. You didn't have to come home 3 weeks later and explain to your little brother why you took too much medicine. Your addiction is remembered as a tragedy, not a betrayal. Your suicide attempt became a suicide, not an unpaid hospital bill. And only tonight did it occur to me that maybe that night when you let your teeth touch metal, you might not have known what you were doing. You might not have had a plan. Maybe you had hit that door so many times you couldn't imagine it might let you through. I'm still ashamed to admit it, but I have always secretly believed you did it for me, that you wanted to show me that there is a way out of all of this. Not so that I would follow you, but so I would understand that every day that I am alive is a day that I choose to be alive. And when the music stops, you still get to keep on dancing. And when the light is so bright it blinds, you can dance with your eyes closed. And if in that dark you come up against a wall, you keep your arms out wide and you dance with the wall.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show, 49 minutes past the hour. Peter Ogburn sitting in for Bill Press today, along with sports reporter for the Huffington Post, Travis Waldron. Good friend of the show. Make sure you're following him on Twitter at Travis_Waldron, WALDRON. A must follow for all things sports on Twitter. And all
things.
You go all of things.
I'm all over the map.
All of the things there on Twitter. Before we move on from football, breaking news this morning. We know Kenny Stabler passed away. It turns out he had stage 3 CTE. We talk about CTE a lot with you on this show. Just another reminder that these guys have played football for so long.
Happy Super Bowl week, everyone.
Yeah, remember that when you're watching all those big hits this weekend.
Right. It's sad.
It is.
There are obviously a lot of caveats when it comes to CTE about not knowing the prevalence because they only test brains generally that they suspect it. But, there was him, that college athlete, college football player that they came out last week and found CT in his brain and raises a lot of concerns.
Yeah,
what it really points to and what I think we're starting to get to in that it's not concussions.
Right.
It's not the crisis for the NFL is not concussions.
Yeah.
Concussions need to be managed better than they are because they're dangerous and they're major injuries. But the real question for the future of football and for the safety of football is the hits, the small hits, every hit.
Yeah.
And
they build up. And it's there's not much to say about it other than this is just a reminder that this is out there. This is just one of the byproducts of America's most popular sport.
Indeed.
I want to talk to you a little bit about a story you're working on around the Zika virus, because this is a big problem, and it's been a big problem, especially in Central America. The first case was reported here in the United States yesterday. A man got it. It was transmitted via sex. But what's your angle that you're working on for the Zika virus?
Well, we're the Olympics.
Yeah,
because it's
huge.
The outbreak in Brazil, and we're only 7 months or so from the start of the Olympics in Rio, and it's something that they're very concerned about, and a lot of the national Olympic federations are starting to be concerned about. The USOC is monitoring how they're doing it. The International Olympic Committee came out yesterday and endorsed the Brazilian government's plans to combat Zika. So it's something that's going to be there at least in the consciousness for the Olympics going forward. Whether or not they say because the Olympics are in the winter months in Brazil that it'll be less of a risk, but we'll see.
That's the issue because it's transmitted a lot through mosquitoes,
right?
Because it's cold there. It's the winter months. Then
colder.
In the winter months, the mosquitoes don't really have a chance there. But that is a real concern, and Brazil has been sort of
it's been the hotspot
ground
for
zero,
right.
for lack of better words, that this is really happening. So that's interesting that they're
and it only adds to the concerns in Brazil. They're having budgetary concerns and
how's this going to play out? It seems like this is a new thing with I shouldn't say it's a new thing because it's been going on for a long time, but people are paying attention now.
Right.
That the Olympics coming to your town is not necessarily the great thing that people always thought it was.
Yeah, people are starting to figure that out.
Yeah, funny, right? Isn't that weird?
Boston was the big story of last summer that rejected the bid for the 2024 games.
Yeah.
Rio obviously had the huge protests ahead of the World Cup in 2013, 2014. And now with their economy in semi-crisis and they've had to cut budgets for the Olympics, and now they're over those budgets still, and a lot of people asking questions. I think it's a major concern. And, and that now you throw this in, you see that the Olympics aren't just a big party. They come with a lot of problems and a lot of concerns
and responsibility,
and a lot of risks for everyone. And they can sort of detract from the real problems that you have to face as an actual country.
Yeah, good stuff. We'll be looking for that story at HuffingtonPost.com. Travis Waldron, sports reporter for Huffington Post. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
As you do. We love having you in. We're going to take a quick break. Wrap up the show with one final segment here coming up. It's the Peter Ogburn in for Bill Press today, the Bill Press Show.
Follow us on Twitter at BP Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
So you're drowning in student debt, and it looks like there's no way out. Have you considered bankruptcy? Of course not. It's a dirty word, and everything you've heard says students can't file anyway. It didn't start that way. Bankruptcy laws were enacted in the 19th century to give people a fresh start. But not all debt is created equal. Take this, for example. We have you, your buddy Carlos, and your Grandma Lucy. Carlos got laid off. His credit card debt was too much to handle, so he filed for bankruptcy. It will totally screw his credit, but at least he can start fresh, and after 10 years, his credit report should be fine. Grandma Lucy's home lost half its value. Now her mortgage isn't worth paying back. She says F it and decides to file for bankruptcy too. Then there's you. You didn't land that dream job, you're struggling to make ends meet, but the interest just keeps piling up. With a broken heart, you've written off the possibility of buying a home, having kids, and getting married because, hello, who wants to deal with your crazy baggage? But in reality, you want those things, and your education was supposed to get you there. Now you need a fresh start, just what bankruptcy was intended for. You try to file, like Carlos and Grandma Lucy, and that's when you realize it's not as easy for you as it was for them. In the 70s, Congress worried that students were using bankruptcy to abuse loan programs. That wasn't quite true. Still, over the years, Congress gradually stripped student debtors of their options. The Bankruptcy Reform Act of 1978 was even called discriminatory towards students by the chairman of the subcommittee. Student debt was singled out and lumped with criminal debts. Today, if student debtors try filing for bankruptcy anyway, they'll need to prove their debt imposes an undue hardship. But who's to say what qualifies as an undue hardship? Even some judges have said they don't get it. This lack of clarity in the law could work in your favor. A Harvard researcher discovered in 2012 that few students actually try to discharge their loans through bankruptcy. Of the students who filed for bankruptcy to settle other debts, only 0.1% try the same tactic on their school debt. The craziest part? Just under half of them got their debts fully or partially discharged. In other words, you can file for bankruptcy on your student loans. Depending on your situation, it might just be a matter of trying. At least there's that.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show. Breaking news. Another one bites the dust. Rand Paul is dropping out of the presidential race, according to multiple outlets who have confirmed it with multiple sources within the Paul campaign. So no more Rand Paul. One more down. I got to tell you, Rand Paul vowed that he was going to take down Donald Trump. A couple of weeks ago, he said, I'm gonna make it my personal mission to make sure that Donald Trump doesn't win the presidency. And a lot of guys say it, and I'm sure they mean it, but Rand Paul has a certain special kind of tenacity that I would take that very, very, very seriously. Rand Paul is the type of guy that would make it his personal mission to destroy you. By the way, speaking of Donald Trump, a tweet that just popped about 10 minutes ago. This is straight from Donald Trump's Twitter feed. Ted Cruz didn't win Iowa. He stole it. That is why all of the polls were so wrong and why he got far more votes than anticipated. Bad. That's the Trump tweet. It's going to be interesting to see how he defends that. And you know he's going to be out there. In a lot of ways, I think this might just be Donald Trump drumming up more news about himself to get his face on TV more. And here we go again. We will sort of test this theory over whether a national media primary will win over organization.
One quick thing about Rand Paul dropping out. Quick thing to note about Saturday's debate, no undercard.
Oh, that's a good point.
Debate.
That might be one of the reasons he got out, because he certainly is fed up with that. All right. We'll be back tomorrow. Y'all tune in. Thanks for watching.
This
and
is
listening.
The Bill Press Show.